Then I can perfect my persona of being able to foresee the future. When I opened the forum, a login interface popped up. I want to make the world's weirdness feel pain. It's almost impossible to achieve. I must rely on external forces. Lee Wenhao's Global Weirdness Forum should have some information I need. I just need to make use of it a little. Then I went into the bedroom without my wife. I turned on the computer. Since I now have the URLs for the Investigation Bureau and the Global Anomaly Forum, I must make good use of this information. After all, I can't rely solely on myself. Until something strange happens again. My save point is right at my front door. In that case, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, the Investigation Bureau will come knocking. It seems it's time to let my precognitive abilities be known to the world. I found myself standing at the door of my house. I didn't return to the save point at the mental hospital. It seems that testing my wife with a scalpel has led me to the next save point. So it seems. Do you need my help? The next moment, a crisp snapping sound echoed through the room. Then, everything went black. My consciousness slowly slipped into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, after a thorough search, I found the letter in Lee Wenhao's arms. But just as I opened the envelope to check its contents, my wife's gentle voice sounded in my ear. Honey, what are you looking for? That the air in front of them suddenly rippled. Then, their heads actually fell directly from their necks. The severed edges were as smooth as a mirror. Seeing this, I hesitated not at all. I went straight to the bodies of the two, but at that moment, his wife slowly raised her right hand. Then she gently waved at the air. They all stayed behind. The two fleeing Shenlingxue had no idea. My flame was just consumed by him. The next moment, the flame in his hand went out. He pulled Lee Wenhao and turned to run, because he had realized that the strange phenomenon before him was something he couldn't handle. However, what Shenlingxue didn't expect was, his full-powered strike was swallowed whole by his wife without a scratch. Seeing this, Shenlingxue's eyes widened instantly. How is this possible? She uses high-temperature flames formed from her spiritual energy. Shenlingxue has a fiery temper. Perhaps it's also because of this reason. Who knows what he's been through internally. His deepest desire turned out to be flames. It swiftly flew towards the fire snake. The terrifying high temperature directly ignited the furniture in the room. Even the air was scorched and distorted. Seeing this, I casually extinguished the fire on my shoulder. This is Shenlingxue's ability. At this moment, Shenlingxue has decided to strike first. Suddenly, a raging fire erupted around her. Immediately, an unusually explosive purple flame appeared in her hand. Then she fiercely struck forward. Suddenly, the purple flame in my hand transformed into a fire snake. That I am unique. Only I can see the entire world. It's strange, but I don't value this uniqueness. Because no one enjoys living in a world fraught with crises, bearing the risk of being discovered and killed at any moment. Now Shenlingxue can see her. Because I saw my wife. This triggered some kind of medium, causing the originally illusory wife to enter reality. So doesn't this mean? I didn't answer Shenlingxue's question, but calmly looked at him. Investigator Shen, I'm not lying to you. I really do have a wife. My wife is actually a monster. Only at this moment did Shenlingxue realize how foolish he was. Feng Xiu, who are you really? Your wife is actually a monster. Didn't I just tell you? I'm just a lonely, single corporate slave. The next moment, maniacal laughter burst from my mouth. Investigator Shen, I didn't expect it either. Feng Xiu, who exactly are you? Your wife is actually strange. Hearing this, the corners of my mouth curled into a meaningful smile. Who am I? Lee Wenhao. The bright red eyes were fixated intently on Shenlingxue. I haven't had Yuling Lion in a long time. That delicious feeling makes me nostalgic. Seeing this, Shenlingxue stood up in shock. Damn it, this is strange. Shenlingxue and Lee Wenhao both looked shocked. Feng Xiu, what is this thing? At this point, his wife's small cherry lips had stretched to her ears. Her once neat teeth had turned jagged. The soft long hair swirled like twisted black snakes, dancing freely in the air. A voice filled with both repression and ecstasy echoed through the room. Honey, can you see me? You really can see me. At this moment, his wife's head rotated 180 degrees. Then a teeth-grating, eerie laugh burst from her mouth. Pitch-black lightning wildly spread within the vortex. The next moment, a foot emerged from it. From the once empty space, a beautiful woman in a moon-white silk nightgown appeared out of thin air. As she arrived, no need for all this. However, in the next moment, a terrifying pressure swept through her entire body. Within her sensuality, a strange vortex appeared behind me. I see you. At this moment, Shenlingxue still hadn't realized the severity of the situation. She was still lecturing me not to play tricks anymore. If I didn't want to cooperate, I could just tell her directly, because next I would present evidence to prove my words. I turned to look at my wife. At the moment our eyes met, I calmly called out, "Wife. My dear wife. Fong Xiu, are you messing with me? Do you think you're so amazing?" I glanced at the furious Shenlingxiu, and felt that he wasn't just pretending. However, I didn't care at all. My mind is so calm, yet I still experience hallucinations. So he suspects that my mental state is very poor right now. It's not advisable for me to be stimulated too much. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, Shenlingxiu suddenly exploded. Shenlingxiu didn't know what to say. At this point, Li Wenhao leaned in, and quietly told Shenlingxiu that I was in a normal state. It's common for new spirit masters to experience this, but my situation is still quite rare. She is very happy that I can see her. Hearing this, I calmly looked at the two of them, murmuring under my breath, "Can you really not see it? Or are you just pretending not to?" For a moment, the atmosphere became a bit eerie. "Fong Xiu, what are you talking about? You're a single person living alone. Where did you get a wife from? You don't even have a female friend." But at this moment, my wife is cheering behind me. It could cause incalculable losses. The consequences for you. I don't need to say more, right? Chen Yan, I did not pay attention to Shenlingxiu's threats. Instead, I continued to ask calmly. "My last question is, have you seen my wife behind me? It is not under the Investigation Bureau's supervision. I advise you not to trust emails from strangers so easily. Now, tell me immediately about your experience at Bailu Academy's strange prison. Everything, no detail left out. If you fabricate anything, I don't have that much time to waste here." Li Wenhao gave him the link to the Global Weird Forum. If he wants to know something, let him check it himself. Also, I kindly remind you, this forum is an underground forum, and according to the current recorded strength of the strange, they are not strong enough to hatch powerful spirit manipulators. When I was about to ask the third question, Shenlingxiu could no longer stand it. She immediately shouted, "Don't ask any more stupid questions. Mr. Fong, you should understand the degree of danger involved. This is also the reason why high-level spirit manipulators are so rare. So, spirit manipulators and the strange are not only opposites, but also complementary. The stronger the strangeness, the stronger the spirit manipulators can become." But as far as he knows, no one in the world has lit up their spirituality to 100% yet. Because lighting up spirituality requires eerie power. The higher the level, the more powerful the strange force needed, the stronger it becomes. Then I asked another question. If someone lights up their spirituality to 100%, what would happen? Li Wenhao shook his head, indicating that he couldn't answer that question. And so on. There are also fourth and fifth levels. Of course, the higher the level, the harder it is to ignite spirituality. The number of people also decreases accordingly. The strength of a spirit master's abilities undergoes a qualitative change. Those who awaken 41% to 60% are third-rank spirit masters. At this level, the change in abilities. I don't know. This is beyond my level of knowledge. Generally, for those who awaken 1% to 20% of their spiritual power, we refer to them as a first-rank spirit master. For example, Mr. Fong, as a newly promoted spirit master like yourself, those who awaken 21% to 40% are second-rank spirit masters. At this stage, at this moment, my wife leaned over, seeing the notebook filled with names. She couldn't help but lick her lips. Li Wenhao showed no reaction to this. He continued to explain to me while writing. Then Li Wenhao took out a notebook. "Mr. Fong, you should know, how important is spirituality to a spirit master, and the levels of power of a spirit master are determined by how much spirituality is activated." After getting the answer, I started a new round of questioning. How is the hierarchy of a spirit master's power divided? Li Wenhao looked a bit surprised. "It seems, Mr. Fong, that you know something about spirit masters, evoking negative emotions, distorting their minds. You are a spirit master, so you should know. The power of the spirit master is a result of being tainted by the eerie, and each strange entity is a source of pollution. Like radioactive material, it continuously emits harmful radiation around it. This is trickery. Trickery infects people's minds. Some are flesh and blood, some are spiritual entities, some are even just conceptual bodies. The only clear thing for the Investigation Bureau is that all the strange beings harbor immense malice towards humanity. They seem to strengthen their form by devouring the minds of humans." He couldn't fully answer them, because the Bureau hasn't figured it out yet either. But according to the Bureau's latest findings, the current preliminary definition of the strange is a distorted mental entity that carries its own source of pollution. Their external manifestations vary greatly. What is their purpose for attacking humans? And that was the first question I asked the Bureau. When Yanli smiled slightly, he said that most people who survived from the anomaly have the same questions. However, regarding these questions, at most, he can burn a reflection letter from the investigator at my grave for you. So, my first question is, what exactly is the eerie presence filling the entire world? Where did they come from? And why are they pretending to be human? Are you provoking me? How dare you show that smile and mock me? Seeing that the person next to me, who could no longer contain their anxiety, hurriedly urged me to quickly say what the problem was. If we wait until the investigator registers, he really won't be able to save me. Judging by her current behavior, it seems to be quite extreme. However, just after calming down, ENGSUB lost control again. When she saw the smile at the corner of my mouth, the black flame that had been extinguished reignited. That the spirit master's mind is often tainted by the bizarre. They often have peculiar and extreme personalities. Pairing them with a mentally stable ordinary person can serve to soothe and supervise them. Although I don't know how twisted ENGSUB's mind is, I discovered that Li Wenhao was just an ordinary person. It's not a spirit master. It seems this is the official configuration of the investigation bureau. An ordinary person paired with a spirit master. The reason for this is probably, she shouted angrily, how dare you question me? Thankfully, under Li Wenhao's full effort to calm her down, ENGSUB finally cooled down. And during this process, through my own spiritual perception, a surge of black flames erupted from her body. It was so sudden that Li Wenhao beside her didn't react in time. Suddenly, the spiritual energy within ENGSUB burst out wildly. Both hands gathered a ball of black flames. Walk to the dining table. Before I answer your question, I have a few questions I'd like you to answer first. Who would have thought that as soon as these words were spoken, ENGSUB would actually explode with rage on the spot? How wonderful that would be. But at this moment, ENGSUB interrupted my fantasy. He demanded that I tell him everything about the mysterious jade of Bailu Shu Academy. There mustn't be any doubts in between. I calmly stood up. In the end, she even started to act like a spoiled child. I stared blankly at my wife's perfect face. I have to say, my wife's face really fits my aesthetic. It would be so beautiful to see the expression of her face when she dies in my hands, frozen in death. They still have no reaction. It seems they really can't see. At this moment, my wife is complaining to me. I don't love him anymore. Why do you keep staring at other women? You can join the Bureau of Investigation. However, I didn't hear a word of what ENGSUB said, because I was still trying to figure out if they really couldn't see my wife, or were just pretending not to. Now my wife is standing right in front of me. One is to investigate the strange information related to Bailu Academy. Second, to assess whether you're qualified to join the investigation team. It seems now, you are indeed qualified, as long as you pass the psychic contamination test. Saying that it's indeed not hard to guess in this regard. But ordinary people, after experiencing strange events, can't think calmly like you do. You really are a person of great potential. Today we have two purposes for coming here, and yet no social unrest has occurred. There must be some force maintaining public order behind the scenes, covering up information on this. After listening to me, ENGSUB praised me. Why aren't you surprised at all by their arrival? I shook my head at his words, indicating that I had never heard of the Bureau before. But if you think about it carefully, you can guess. Since this world has such strange beings, if even he can't see his wife, then it proves that I am special. Whether one can see the supernatural may have nothing to do with being a spirit manipulator. After ENGSUB carefully examined me, she asked if I knew about the investigation bureau before. Hearing this, my mind already began to ponder. Being people from a special department, his strength is definitely greater than a beginner like me in spirit manipulation. And this woman named ENGSUB is clearly an experienced investigator. She must know a lot about strange occurrences. Or have I long since become able to ignore the strange like it's nothing? At this moment, the man who knocked on the door started to introduce himself. The man's name is Li Wenhao, and the person next to him is investigator ENGSUB. They are staff members of the Global Anomalous Events Joint Investigation Strategic Defense and Logistics Bureau, trying to determine whether they could see me. Then I noticed that their gaze was fixed on me. It seemed they couldn't see me. Seeing this, I couldn't help but think, is it truly invisible? Kid, do you know who we are? They also knew we were coming. However, I did not respond. Instead, I led them to the living room. During this time, I kept observing the two of them. No need for introductions. I know who you are. Come inside and let's talk. Hearing this, ENGSUB and the other person were shocked. So I opened the door, and looked at the two calmly. Li was about to take out her credentials to identify herself. I grabbed it immediately, and said you guys were too slow. Standing outside the door were ENGSUB and her evil spirit. At this moment, Li was about to step forward and knock. Seeing this, I confirmed that the two outside the door were human, because the eerie beings cannot interact with reality unless they are seen. Moments later, the footsteps stopped at my front door. Once again, I ignored my wife, who greeted me from the TV. I got up and walked toward the door. I looked outside through the peephole, preparing to see if the visitor was strange or human. Seeing this, I couldn't help but start thinking, is this strange force really that strong? Or was it that a special organization deliberately covered it up? And just at that moment, the sound of crisp footsteps echoed in. Enhance my endurance. Isn't this tailored for a specific profession? Then I ignored my wife, who kept bothering me, and turned on the TV to watch the news, only to find there was no news about the murder at the sales office. While cooking, I wondered what Zhao Hao was doing after 11 p.m. What I longed for the most was actually this kind of ability, although I didn't expect him to awaken any powerful abilities. But this ability is just too trashy. Turn into a muscular hunk. I have to say, this ability is truly Zhao Hao's dream ability. No wonder Zhao Hao is so excited, although I'm quite speechless about his ability. Then I started making breakfast. Moreover, he'll need to be closely monitored, to prevent him from using his abilities to do shady things. Yeri immediately understood and said he'd arrange for personnel to monitor him. Meanwhile, in the rented room, I had just hung up Zhao Hao's call. The investigation bureau is short-handed. If Feng Xiu's ability is really powerful, they can consider employing him after he passes the mental contamination test. They'll absorb him into the investigation bureau. As for that account, it's not necessary. It lasted until 1 a.m. According to his description, this ability mainly enhances his endurance. Upon hearing this, Shen Mingxue snorted. This kid's ability is quite suitable for nightclubs. However, from his words, it should be a powerful ability. As for Zhao Hao's abilities, he transforms into a muscular handsome guy every night at 11. Both his physical fitness and looks are enhanced. So what are their abilities? Is there any potential for cultivation? Wen Yan was momentarily unsure how to speak up. Feng Xiu's abilities are currently beyond measure. He did not mention it on the phone. It took just 2.5 minutes to reach the destination. As soon as she got out of the car, Shen Lingxue asked if the assistant manager had intercepted the call between Feng Xiu and Zhao Hao. The assistant manager confirmed that it had been intercepted. Based on their conversation, it was initially determined that both were ordinary people before. They had awakened their abilities inside the ghost prison of Bailu Academy to become spirit masters. After hearing Zhao Hao's words, I was filled with black rage. I should have realized earlier. What kind of power could someone who overcame fear through movies awaken? The next day, a supercar was speeding down the road. Please don't hang up. I haven't finished yet. My true ability is actually endurance. During these few hours, my strength feels endless. After hearing Zhao Hao's explanation, I chuckled softly. This is your ability, turning into a muscle man. With that, I was about to hang up the phone. Hearing this, Zhao Hao hurriedly shouted, Brother Xiu. I had no intention of agreeing with Zhao Hao at all. Then I sighed, Zhao Hao's really getting cocky. Before I could finish, Zhao Hao still couldn't take you down. If you still charge that much this time, I'll block you immediately. This ability of mine is the one every man in the world dreams of having. I'm afraid you'd get jealous if I told you. You have no idea how long I struggled last night. And yet there wasn't even the slightest change. Seeing that, I just hung up the phone. And it activates automatically. It will last until 1 o'clock in the morning. Zhao Hao's words piqued my interest. So I asked him what the specific manifestation was. However, Zhao Hao kept me in suspense. Xiu Gu. As soon as I answered, Zhao Hao's excited voice came through. Brother Xiu. I know what my ability is. The reason I couldn't perceive its existence yesterday is that my ability can only be activated after 11 o'clock. She would definitely investigate it thoroughly. Time quickly arrived at the next day. I was awakened by a loud phone ringing. Without even looking at the name, I knew it was Zhao Hao calling. He ordered him to take people tomorrow to meet Feng Xiu and the other person. Confirm whether they have awakened any abilities and the level of their mental contamination. Assess if there's a need to bring them into the investigation bureau. Finally, confirm the danger level of the strange occurrences at Bailu Academy. When Yen Chen Lingxue immediately expressed her understanding. It looks like the two are about to argue. Wang Dihai angrily slammed the table. Everyone shut up. Do you think this is a marketplace in the South City? Is this the South City vegetable market? Wang Dihai directly called out Shen Lingxue. The danger level is at most C-class. Any experienced spirit master can handle it. Never jump to conclusions about unfamiliar encounters. Isn't that the first rule of being a spirit master? Have you forgotten? And speculated that Feng Xiu had likely become a spirit master in the strange prison. Upon hearing this, the man in sunglasses immediately retorted. Even if he becomes a spirit master, a novice spirit master can still survive in the ghost realm. The strange expression that emerged. There was no joy of having survived a disaster, nor was there any eerie fear, only a calm face. Shen Lingshua's associates also agreed with his statement. Just send someone to deal with it, and that should be enough. Unexpectedly, someone opposed him at that moment. Investigator Shen Lingxue stated, the man named Fang Xiu in the surveillance footage was too calm. There's no way an ordinary person could have walked out of there alive. Wang Dihai pondered for a moment. Then he asked everyone present, what are your thoughts on this incident? Upon hearing this, a young man wearing sunglasses scoffed, saying that even ordinary people could walk out of such an anomaly alive. At most, how dangerous could it be? This level of anomaly. They both work at the sales office of Bai Lu Academy. After investigation, there's nothing special about their pasts. Before entering the ghost prison of Bai Lu Academy, they were ordinary people. After listening to Secretary Lin's report, currently, only external surveillance footage is available. The White Willow Academy's ghost prison claimed a total of 11 people this time. Only 2 survivors are seen on the footage. The more attractive one is named Fang Xiu. The sleazier one is named Zhao Hao. And what's shown on the big screen is the footage of me and Zhao Hao emerging from the anomaly. Secretary Lin is reporting to Bureau Chief Wang Dihai about the strange incident at the White Willow Academy. Due to the internal surveillance being compromised by a supernatural force, all monitoring equipment malfunctioned, resulting in the loss of video footage from within the academy. Sitting guard is a middle-aged man. He is wearing a black suit. His demeanor is naturally authoritative. He appears to be in his 40s. This man is Director Wang Dihai of the Investigation Bureau. But on that night, there was a place that was brightly lit. The sound of people was deafening. At the Green Vine City branch of the Global Bureau of Anomalous Events Joint Investigation, Strategic Defense Attack, and Logistics Support Division, there is a group who were awakened by emergency calls to attend a meeting. I studied for a long time that night, but I gained very little. I still lack confidence in this world. The only bit of information I have came from Wang Zidong. Helpless, I could only fall into a deep sleep. Once I become stronger, I'll try again. After entering the house, I ignored my lovely wife. My behavior was just like that of a corporate drone returning home late at night. This time, it's so strange that I don't even know how I died. It's all just bizarre. There's a gap in awareness. And this gap might be even bigger than the one between people. It seems I still need to spend more time with my wife. Looking at the door in front of me, I suddenly realized it was echoing. This on the right is my wife's true strength. I didn't expect that after I awakened my spirit and became a spirit master, I would actually feel an even greater gap. When I woke up again, I found myself back at my front door. Am I dead? But how did I die? How come I don't remember anything at all? All just to give you a surprise, my love. I thought this strike would severely wound my wife. But the moment she revealed her true form, my vision suddenly went dark. And my consciousness plunged into darkness again. How do you like the gift I gave you, my dear? Do you like it? During the time coming home, I kept channeling my energy into the scalpel. The pain threshold was set to the maximum. She revealed a greedy and sinister smile. But in the next moment, a silver light flashed by. A crimson flower bloomed on my wife's body. The thrill of revenge filled my heart. Hearing my memories, my wife's gentle smile instantly vanished. Honey, can you see me? Do you really see me? Then my wife stared at me with her blood-red eyes. Do you want me to make some noodles for you? Seeing my wife as gentle as ever, the big stone in my heart completely fell away. It feels really good to see my wife. So I softly agreed. Only some whispers remain. When I returned home, I saw my gentle wife again. Honey, why are you back so late? Have you eaten? And you need to remember what I'm about to say. When someone comes to find you, just say this to them. At this moment, the entire world seems to fall into silence. All the noise and clamor have vanished into the night. Since this world has both the strange and the spirit masters, there must be organizations specifically dealing with the strange. Otherwise, wouldn't this world be in chaos? Before this, have you heard of the weird and spirit masters? When I said this, Zhao Hao was left speechless. Zhao Hao thought for a moment, and then realized that my approach was the most correct. No one needs to be found. I just need to wait at home for them to come to me. You actually still have the mood to go home and sleep. Seeing this, I turned back to Zhao Hao and asked, if you're not going home to sleep, what do you want to do? Are you planning to call the police? To tell them you encountered a ghost. All the colleagues were killed by ghosts, and prepared to part ways with Zhao Hao. I'm going home to sleep. When Yan looked at you, Xiu Gu, in shock. All the colleagues are dead. We also encountered the legendary strange things. Who cares about so much anymore? After all, the most important thing in life is to have no regrets. Don't you think so? Seeing this, Xiu Gu, I casually found an excuse. Never appeared after the dream was broken. Maybe it was too ashamed to show up. Or maybe it was scared of Zhao Hao. And Zhao Hao, seeing my speechless expression, quickly added, I was about to die at that time. And the ghost, who could only create nightmares, was so shocked by Zhao Hao's madness, that it even cried. After all, he'd never seen anything like this. Hearing this, I finally understood why the ghost died. With that, Zhao Hao gritted his teeth, ignoring Li Feifei's terrifying appearance. He charged straight at him. Even if he got devoured by the ghost today, leaving nothing behind, he still wanted to fulfill his wish before dying. Zhao Hao knew he wouldn't escape death today, but then he had a thought. Even if he had to die, he couldn't die in such humiliation. If he were to die like this, haven't I lived in vain for over 20 years? Her slender hands were like iron pincers. He was tightly restrained. Zhao Hao said he was really scared to death at that moment. His mind was filled with nothing but fear. When Li Feifei lunged at him with her gaping, bloody mouth, Li Feifei had turned into a rift. Her mouth split open to both sides, all the way to her ears. Her mouth was full of sharp teeth. Her appearance became terrifying. When he opened his eyes and looked around, he found Li Feifei standing right in front of him. At this point, Zhao Hao completely lost it. He lunged directly at Li Feifei. However, the next moment, he felt something was wrong. He can even change the dream of the ghost eye. This kid must have put all his talent into this. When the atmosphere of the classroom shifted, those cold, corpse-like hands became warm and soft. The stark contrast left Zhao Hao momentarily stunned. When he opens his eyes again, the classroom that was once eerie and terrifying has changed completely. It has become very bright and warm. I really don't know how to evaluate him anymore. Zhao Hao's imagination is just too powerful. Zhao Hao then started talking about what he did in the dream. As soon as he entered the dream, he found himself in a creepy classroom. Many cold hands, as lifeless as corpses, are touching his body. He can't escape from these things. He can only close his eyes and desperately imagine movie plots. Could it be the plug you pulled when you woke up in your dream? Let me see if there's still a version I can salvage. When Zhao Hao clasped his hands together, he prayed I wouldn't tell anyone after hearing it. After I promised I definitely wouldn't, telling me to stop talking. If I kept talking, he would really shoot me. Seeing this, I expressed that I was not interested in your dream. I just want to know what you were doing in your dream. Then why were you hugging and holding the air in the dream? When Zhao Hao heard this, he immediately turned into boiling water. Steam was billowing out from the top of his head. Then he tried to cover my mouth. This perfectly reflects Zhao Hao's actions. Then, as we walked, I asked Zhao Hao how he broke free from the dream. Zhao Hao replied that he just followed the method I taught him, ignored everything, and threw himself into the movie's plot. Extreme emotions quietly surged in his heart. Although he knew this mindset was wrong, the significant gap between reality and expectation made it hard for him to accept for a moment. Afraid that his brothers would suffer, but also afraid they'd lead the way. At this moment, Zhao Hao, who was sitting beside me, appeared calm on the surface as he looked at me. In reality, he was already experiencing a storm of emotions inside. He did not awaken his abilities, but Rouge had awakened, an extraordinary ability to foresee the future. Or is it because spirit masters inherently can't see the strangeness all around? I really hope it's the former, because that would mean I'm not alone. There are others like me in the world, people who can see the strangeness just like I can. Even so, my brow had already furrowed slightly. Even if I've awakened my spirit and become a spirit master, can't I see the strangeness of the real world? Is it because Zhao Hao just became a spirit master and is too weak, and a sky as dark as a curtain? Seeing this scene, I already understood in my heart, so I replied that I must have been mistaken. Mistakenly taking a bat for something strange. Shio, stop laughing. Where's the weirdness? Why can't I see anything? From Zhao Hao's perspective, he only saw the bright moon and scattered stars. Confused, with no response. He clearly awakened his spirituality and became a spirit master. So why does he have no reaction to the strange phenomena all over the sky? So I asked him if he saw the weirdness in the sky. Upon hearing this, Zhao Hao looked up with a panicked expression. After all, in the face of absolute strength, any scheme is futile. Even if I tried again 1,000 or 10,000 times, the result would not change in the slightest. Zhao Hao glanced at me, and also quietly relieved. Luckily, the strange presence in the emergency passage was just fabricating dreams, without any attack power. If something else had blocked the door, even if I had the ability to echo death, I'm afraid I would still be trapped inside. So it would be blocked by the reality of police work. Previously, it was in an illusory state, so it wasn't blocked. I looked at the academy's gate, deep in thought, always embedded in the sales office. This leaves me very confused. Why was I able to see the mental hospital before, but can't see it now? Could it be that the mental hospital has merged with reality? However, when I turned back to look at the academy, I couldn't find any trace of the asylum. But in my perception, Qingshan Mental Hospital hasn't disappeared. It's right there, thus securing more resources from the organization. Then I can quickly grow stronger, and seek revenge on the anomalies. Especially for my gentle and lovely wife. I must repay him well. You even knew there were anomalies in the safe passage. And the reason I say this, is because if there's an organization of spirit seers in this world, then compared to painful output abilities, foreseeing the future would help raise my value. That my ability is to foresee the future. When Zhao Hao heard this, he couldn't hold back his excitement. So it turns out, Brother Xiu, your abilities are that impressive. No wonder you know which way to go in the ghost prison. How would I know if this is normal? Then Zhao Hao, with a mournful face, asked me what ability I had awakened. I thought for a moment. I decided to hide my true ability. So I told Zhao Hao. Wang Zidong didn't say that lighting up spirituality would definitely awaken an ability. Could it be that I'm the unlucky one? I fell silent, because I am also a novice. Now, carefully sense what your awakened ability is. However, after sensing for a while, the joy on Zhao Hao's face faded, and was replaced by a grim expression. Brother Xiu, I didn't sense anything. Did I awaken my spirituality? How would I know? But I did feel something strange in my dream just now. I felt no sensation, yet my strength increased. I immediately expressed that this must be the physical enhancement brought on by awakening spirituality. You're right. We really escaped the mental hospital. After speaking, he turned to Zhao Hao. Yue Tian, have you awakened your spirituality? Hearing this, Zhao Hao looked puzzled. Brother Xiu, it's incredible. We finally escaped. At this moment, Zhao Hao's face is filled with the joy of surviving a catastrophe. I look at the strange sky. Hui Dao Yutian. At that moment, I had a suspicion in my heart. But I didn't ask right away. Instead, I pushed the door open. After stepping outside, Zhao Hao looks around in astonishment. The ghostly eyes appeared immediately. But this time, there was no movement at all. Just as I was pondering, I suddenly recalled Zhao Hao's actions before he was about to wake up. Could it be because of this? If they die, it's their own fault. After saying that, I turned and walked towards the exit. When I placed my hand on the door, I suddenly felt something strange. After all, the last time I broke the dream, how did Hugh and the others end up like this? Could it be they didn't make it? Hearing this, I responded, you're right. I have already told them how to survive. But they still held a skeptical attitude, because he used too much force. Zhao Hao couldn't keep his balance, and fell directly onto his colleague's corpse. When he looked up and saw the scene in front of him, he was instantly shocked. When Zhao Hao heard it, he immediately shouted, Brother Xiu, stop talking, and lunged at me, trying to cover my mouth. But I simply shifted slightly and dodged his move. Really, just a little. To prove this isn't a dream, I revealed some secrets. Stuff about a plumber's revenge, dreaming of Avatar, things like that. I looked at Zhao Hao speechlessly, casually pushing away Zhao Hao's hand, thinking, this kid finally grew up a little. He knows how to use his brain, but not by much. Zhao Hao seemed to suddenly remember something, and looked at me with heightened vigilance. Are you really Brother Xiu? Come here, let me pinch you. As soon as I pinch, I'll know if you're real. He realizes he's broken free from the dream. It seems like this is the emergency exit. Did I make it out? Brother Xiu, have I really successfully cracked the dream? But just as I finished speaking, he leaps up from the ground in one motion, shouting, Fei Fei, don't leave me, I can't lose you. After Zhao Hao takes in his surroundings, I immediately understood that Zhao Hao was turning misfortune into fortune. He was about to illuminate his own spirituality. At this moment, Zhao Hao is still immersed in the dream, not yet awake. Suddenly, he snaps his eyes open. But just at this moment, I surprisingly sensed spiritual fluctuations from Zhao Hao. Although the scene on the stage was a bit hard to watch, as Zhao Hao's movements became more pronounced, the spiritual fluctuations around him became increasingly evident. He then employed the unique secret technique of a certain island master. This makes me quite pleased. At the same time, I marvel at his rich taste. He doesn't even overlook the bizarre. Truly the contemporary Ning Kaichen. I found that two colleagues remained as composed as before. In contrast, Zhao Hao, this time there is a significant change. Although he still shows fear, there is a hint of lewdness mixed in with the fear. Fate follows thereafter. I led the three of them towards the safe passage. At the same time, I also felt a wave of boredom. After all, I had experienced too many dreams. When I once again broke through the dream and returned to reality, then, if you find the flaws in the dream as I said, you will be able to come out alive. As for the other two, they had no reaction at all. That is to say, life and death are free. I thought to myself, this should work. So I told him to remember one thing. Everything strange in the dream is fake. As long as you are not overwhelmed by fear, you won't die. The two of them immediately stood behind Zhao Hao and started watching the movie. As the movie reached an exciting part, Zhao Hao got more and more into it. Finally, his little volcano completely erupted, seeing Zhao Hao in full force, indicating that he understood. At this moment, the two colleagues beside him were both looking at Zhao Hao with a very strange expression. Is Feng Xiu out of his mind? In this situation, Zhao Hao still wants to watch a movie. But when I told them that not watching means waiting to die, desperately imagining the next part of the plot, only this way, do you have a slight chance of surviving? Hearing this, Zhao Hao took a deep breath. Then he nodded. You need to fully immerse yourself in the protagonist. Get yourself excited. Then, once you enter the illusion, you don't need to worry about anything. Just close your eyes. Zhao Hao could only pull out his treasured movie, and quietly pressed play. When the BGM plays, the atmosphere of fear that had surrounded everyone seems to have dissipated quite a bit. Zhao Hao, I want you to watch this movie carefully. Zhao Hao, I'm not joking with you. I'm saving your life. If you want to live, do exactly as I say. Seeing me so serious. Brother Xiu, you're joking with me, right? If you want to watch it, let's wait until we escape first. By then, I'll show you everything I've got. But I look at you seriously. Did you sneak? You looked at my phone. And what's the difference between blasting that movie out loud and pooping on the street? At this point, Zhao Hao was already starting to doubt himself. He felt like there was something wrong with his ears. Ri Tian, you need to open your phone right now. Then turn the volume up to the maximum. Play that private teaching movie you like. When Yan's face instantly turned red. Xiugu, how did you know? Sexual desire is also a type of instinctive emotion. If we use this emotion, couldn't it dilute fear? I immediately felt I had found a breakthrough. I then looked at Zhao Hao. Use another intense emotion to dilute fear. Thinking about Zhao Hao's characteristics. Aside from being ugly, introverted, timid, a loser, and fond of daydreaming, his biggest feature might be his desires. As the ancient said, food and sex. Even if I have to kill myself hundreds of times, I won't hesitate. As I reflect once more, an idea came to me. That is to distract Zhao Hao. Since it can't be overcome, then avoidance is the choice. What on earth can I do to save him? Is there really no way? At this moment, my heart is in great pain. Then I raised my hand again to perform surgery on Zhao Hao. I will definitely find a way to save you. In the next moment, Zhao Hao's expression became extremely painful. He murmured not to worry, but he just couldn't wake up. Moments later, Zhao Hao's head tilted, lifeless. This outcome was something I never expected, and I used a bit of my pain-inducing ability. Then I grabbed the scalpel firmly, and slashed it downward with force. It pierced directly into Zhao Hao's thigh. Suddenly, the pain transferred through the blade into Zhao Hao's body, but even with his face swollen like a pig's head, his lower body suffered a fatal blow. Zhao Hao still hadn't woken up. At this point, I completely gave up the idea of waking Zhao Hao without endangering his life. I immediately pulled out the female doctor's scalpel. Seeing this, I went ahead and slapped him hard across the face. Still not awake. Then, I smacked him a dozen more times, one after another. I even used the same move I used against Wang Zidong. Only then did Zhao Hao catch his breath. But he was still in the same state as before. I shouted Zhao Hao's name. I gave him another push. But Zhao Hao was still frowning, deeply immersed in his dream. When I broke the dream again, I found Zhao Hao still forcefully choking himself. His face was ashen. It looked like he was about to suffocate. I hurried over and pried his hand away. And I realized the dreams are entirely fabricated by the ghost eye. Everyone's dream is different. The Zhao Hao and others in their dreams are fake. Which means they can only rely on themselves to pass this trial. External help can't save them. When Zhao Hao's face instantly turned red. He stammered, saying that he couldn't tell whether it was fake or real. But no matter how I remind them, they can never overcome their fear. In the end, they still choose the path of suicide. Only by overcoming fear can you break the dream. If you can't tell whether it's reality or a dream, then go to the company and pinch Li Feifei. The feeling of fake and real is different. That's the flaw in the dream. That there was a creature inside that could manipulate dreams. In the dream, various terrifying things would appear, even making you think you had escaped the creature. But all of this is false. Zhao Hao, you must remember. But it was still the same. Then I understood. To get through this, you can only rely on yourself to overcome fear. So I told Zhao Hao and the others. However, even with my warning, everyone still entered the dream. Seeing this, without a second thought, I pulled out a scalpel, and made a cut at my own neck. I tried this several times in a row. Zhao Hao, I will definitely get you out of here. When I woke up again, I followed the procedure and arrived at the safety passage. This time, I didn't choose to rest and regain my spiritual power. Since this strange ability controls dreams, the best way is not to fall asleep. Crying bitterly, I shouted, "Brother Shio, I will definitely get you out of here." The next moment, I silently pulled out a scalpel. Without the slightest hesitation, I plunged it into my own neck. Seeing this, I fell silent. I did not fulfill my promise to bring Zhao Hao out of the eerie prison alive. At that moment, a scene kept flashing in my mind. Zhao Hao was holding my head. Her face had turned a purple-blue color from lack of oxygen. I approached Zhao Hao. I reached out my hand to feel his breath. I discovered he was already dead, and he had choked himself to death. There is probably a qualitative difference between the two. This can be seen from the female doctor's lack of special abilities. Her method of killing is also very simplistic and rigid. At this moment, Zhao Hao's frantic actions interrupted my thoughts. She was gripping her own neck tightly with her hands. If my guess is correct, the female doctor should be the weakest entity in this asylum, because other entities seem to have been transformed from humans through experiments, and the female doctor has never undergone any experiments. She is merely a ghost transformed by an infected scalpel, and disappeared without a trace. Even the ghost left. Only then did I loosen my grip on the scalpel. This was a bizarre entity that could control dreams. What the female doctor feared was her. Instead, it stared at me intently. It seemed to want to etch my appearance into its mind. A human without fear. "I remember you." After saying that, it slowly faded away, and seemed through the illusion to escape. "But I really didn't like the dream you just created. How dare you create a scene without any creepy events? Is that something a strange person like you should be doing?" The blood-eyed ghost didn't say a word. "You must have been scared to death. Too bad you picked the wrong target. But thanks to you. If it weren't for the creepy events you deliberately staged to frighten me, how could I have reignited my desire to live? In your dreams, the more fear you feel, the faster you die. No wonder there's a zero death count. Dead people resurrect and call me to work." To be honest, if an ordinary person encountered a dead person and was told to go to work, what texture is wrong? And why aren't you afraid? As soon as those words were spoken, I instantly understood. It seems you rely on fear to kill, but you don't understand silicone. The texture at Li Feifei's place is obviously wrong. This is also the biggest flaw in your dream. Gue Yen seems to not understand. What do you mean silicone? At this moment, a raspy and unsettling voice emerged from the ghostly eyes shrouded in the blood mist. "Boy, how did you see through the illusion?" I chuckled lightly at his words. "You've studied humans quite thoroughly. The entire dream feels incredibly real. To pull people into a dream." At this moment, streams of blood-red mist converged into the depths of the corridor. One after another, ghostly eyes slowly emerged within the mist. Beneath him trailed countless skulls. An eerie aura surged forth. All of this was merely a dream created by some eerie force. As the fragments dispersed, Zhao Hao and the others collapsed crookedly on the ground, every face twisted in fear. "Is this your ability?" Bubbles started rising from the hard marble floor. The next moment, it devoured the corpses like a swamp. Then the entire sales office shattered like a mirror. Watching the scattered fragments, I thought to myself, just as I expected. Then I turned around, calmly looking at the fallen bodies. "Had enough fun? If you have, come on out." As soon as I finished speaking, "No one can block the scalpel. I've cut a hole in everyone. When I stop moving, my shadow has already reached the other side of the office. And the time I've spent is just 1 second. I can kill you with the resentment this scalpel carries." With that, I charged toward them. At this moment, my figure is like a sleek cheetah, weaving through the crowd. As the glow passes through the scene, isn't it always like this? You have to clear the minions before facing the boss. Looking at Zhao Hao, who had already turned into a monster, I raised the female doctor's scalpel. "To kill weaklings like you, I don't even need my spirit." Suddenly, Zhao Hao's body started to tremble violently. In the next moment, his face swelled up like a balloon being inflated. His body became grotesque and twisted. My spine bent into an unnaturally exaggerated arc, like a flying figure. I'm not surprised at all. Their faces turned as pale as death. Even Zhao Hao was the same. Seeing this, I stepped forward. I waved my hand in front of Zhao Hao, but he didn't react at all. Wouldn't it be better to just die peacefully, instead of suffering again? At that moment, something strange in the office area caught my attention. I saw my colleagues suddenly freeze. Each one stood rigidly like a zombie, motionless. He was mumbling something, but the wound on his neck made it impossible for him to speak, or even breathe. "Since I could kill you once, I can kill you a second time." My calm gaze met Wu Dehai's furious, wide-open eyes. I said, "You're dead. You're already dead. Why insist on arguing? Wu Dahai, lying on the ground, waved his hands unconsciously. In the astonished gaze of everyone, a bright surgical knife was plunged directly into Wu Dahai's thick neck. Bright red liquid was flowing down from his mouth. Then I swiftly dragged my right hand. Wu Dahai's hefty body fell to the ground with a thud. Wu Dahai's loud voice attracted the attention of the entire office. Everyone stood up to watch the commotion. But just at that moment, I swung my hand violently towards Wu Dahai's neck. The next moment, the whole world went silent. What nonsense are you saying about someone dying? Can you speak properly? Do you even want to keep this job? If you don't, then get out. There are plenty of people who want this job. Hearing this, Wu Dahai's forehead immediately furrowed. The next moment, he pointed at my nose and started cursing, his mouth firing off like a machine gun. Damn you, Feng Xiu, with your work attitude. Before Wu Dahai could finish speaking, I interrupted him. Wu Dahai, you just never change. That face of yours will stay the same even in the afterlife. When will my commission be paid? I made 50 million in sales. You should at least give me a 200,000 commission. Upon hearing this, Wu Dahai snorted coldly. A commission? You still have the nerve to ask for a commission? Wu Dahai started shouting at me angrily. Feng Xiu, why are you only coming to work now? I had mentioned you in the group, why didn't you reply? Do you know that Mr. Wang has been inspecting the company's work recently? But I just calmly looked at him. Their expression and posture are exactly the same as I remember. So in a certain sense, could this be considered a kind of resurrection? Then I went to Wu Dahai's office. As soon as I walked in, Wu Dahai is right there. But I don't dare to go over. At this moment in the lobby, the colleagues who once died are working at their desks, staring at the charred computers as usual. Seeing this, I thought that although they had died, they are now living well. Then I told Zhao Hao that I wasn't captured. It's because I enjoy working that I came. And where is Wu Dahai now? Wen Yan pointed to the office. Were you also captured by Big Eyes to work? I was stunned upon hearing this. I thought, does Big Eyes really have such an ability? If I had known, I wouldn't have pinched him. Would have been nice to let him take me along. Without even looking at Li Feifei's reaction, I shoved my hands in my pockets, and walked straight up to the second floor. At this moment, Zhao Hao looked panicked. Hugh, you ran over here. How come you're so early? Hearing this, I stepped forward. With an attitude of seeking truth and understanding, I verified the reason for my death. The answer I got was indeed what I expected. What a scam. The air still reeks of a burnt smell. Moments later, I spotted Li Feifei, who had long been dead, in the crowd. As soon as Li Feifei saw me, she immediately came over to greet me. Brother Xiu, is the sun rising from the west today? The area was cordoned off by the police. I walked straight past the cordon into the sales office. After observing the surroundings, I gave this hallucination a perfect score of 100. Just because the effects are incredibly realistic. Since you want me to come so much, I'll go check out what you're up to. When I arrived at the Bailu Academy, I found that the entire sales office had been burned black. It was clear that it had experienced a severe fire. No blood either. Turns out it was an illusion. Things were getting more and more interesting. With that thought, I immediately took out my bicycle from 82. Then I looked up at the sky. The eyeball let out a painful scream as it was pulled out of the phone. Then, like a bubble, it vanished into thin air. I opened my right hand. My hand was completely empty. No eyeball. Then, like pulling weeds, I forcefully twisted it out of the phone screen. Calmly, I apologized. Sorry. This is my only phone. Please don't take up space. However, to my surprise, Feng Xiu, I see you. Come back to work right now. Seeing this, I wasn't the least bit scared. I suddenly reached out my hand. I grabbed the eyeball in my hand. The next moment, the blood began to boil. Like boiling water. A stream of blood shot up from the phone. A bizarre eye grew out from it. Wu Dahai's eerie voice came from the eyeball. In the end, a line of bloody text appeared. Did you think staying silent would keep me from knowing where you are? Blood-red liquid slowly dripped from the letters. Then, the WeChat screen gradually disappeared. Only that line of blood-red text remained on the phone screen. At this moment, it's the first time in my life that I am so eager to go to work. However, I didn't reply in the group, because I want to see what kind of excitement Wu Dahai can still bring to himself. As I didn't respond for a long time, the ding-ding-ding notifications from my phone became more frequent. This person actually asked me to go to work. This is really interesting. My own corpse has been completely eaten by the female doctor. Now they still expect me to go to work. It seems that after Wu Dahai died, he became a capital ghost. I will be home to see you soon. At this moment, the WeChat notification sound rang out. The already deceased Wu Dahai actually asked in the group why I hadn't come to work yet. Seeing that I didn't reply, he started bombarding me with messages. Such a bizarre scene made me laugh out loud with joy. I knew it. They were just playing hide and seek with me. Even this bizarre world is just the illusion created by the bizarre itself. That's great, really great. Honey, please wait for me a moment. But I didn't reply. Instead, my whole body began to tremble with excitement. Then I burst into a fit of manic laughter. The me who echoes death is dead. How wonderful. The dead include Fang Xiu, Zhao Hao, Prince Teng, Wu Dehai, Li Feifei and 11 others. At this time, Zhao Hao's frightened voice sounded on the phone. Brother Xiu, did you see? Our names are on the death list. Could it be that we're already dead? He started checking his phone. On the news, it says 1949 last night. A major fire broke out in Bailu Academy. The fire was put out at 2200 hours. According to statistics, a total of 11 people died in the accident. Zhao Hao's tone was very anxious, but I had no reaction. It wasn't until I heard Zhao Hao mention the fire at Bailu Academy that I regained a bit of composure. Xian suddenly sat up. Now the strangeness is gone. What should I do with this hatred? What is the meaning of my existence? Suddenly, Zhao Hao called. Xiu, you need to check the news quickly. Until death. Then I lay in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, until the sun rose high. I still hadn't regained my senses. Madness and hatred pulled my sanity back from the edge of hell. I swore vengeance against all the bizarre in the world, to make them feel the pain. That is the meaning of my existence. Just like my name. How will I go on living in the future? Then I stood up as if I had lost my soul. I have died dozens of times. I've also been driven mad by the bizarre. I've broken down, but in the end, I survived. Anyone in the world can disappear. But you can't. If you disappear, how am I supposed to live? Without you, my dear. But my beautiful, gentle wife still didn't appear. At this point, my mental state completely broke down. I collapsed to the ground, like a deflated balloon. You've killed me 30 times by now. How can you just disappear? I screamed wildly. Honey, where are you? Come out already. I can see you. I really can see you. Honey, I can't lose you. I pushed open the door to my house. Rushed in like a madman. But the silent, empty scene froze me in place. My eyes were bloodshot. Along the way, I noticed the eerie atmosphere in the neighborhood, like outside, had vanished. This made my mental state even more unstable. The whole world can disappear, but you cannot disappear. He sighed, probably thinking his wife ran away with someone. He looks like a pitiful guy. Guess it's just my bad luck today. With that, he drove off. At that time, I had already reached the iron gate downstairs. I immediately dashed out of the cab, running all the way home. The driver was about to ask me for the fare, but when he thought about how I behaved in the car, he instantly gave up the idea. You must not disappear. At least my wife must not disappear. Honey, you can't leave. You absolutely can't leave. The taxi quickly arrived at the destination. I have it all in my heart. After hailing a taxi, I urged the driver to head straight to the rental. The whole way, I couldn't stop trembling, murmuring to myself, you can't disappear. Honey, you can't disappear. You have to wait for me at home. I've just awakened my spirit to become a spirit master. I haven't even properly repaid you yet. I remember all your caring words and actions. I rushed into the street to stop a car. The account next to me couldn't keep up with my speed at all. I left it far behind early on. I stood in the midst of the rushing traffic, hoping that a car would stop. You absolutely cannot disappear. Absolutely cannot. Just vanish like that. At this point, I was like a lunatic, ignoring my own safety. How could they disappear? How can they disappear? What right do they have to disappear? I was running frantically, while muttering something wildly, like a madman. I can accept the disappearance of the mental hospital. I can no longer take revenge on the female doctor. But the one thing I cannot accept is the strangeness of the real world. Everything has vanished, have all vanished without a trace. What on earth is going on? At that moment, my usually calm heart panicked. I began to frantically search for them. I could accept what I did to Wang Zideng and Wu Dehai. Exploding in my mind, I realized something even scarier. The eerie things have disappeared. They used to be everywhere on the streets, even the indescribable ones in the sky. Yeah, Xiu, we're not off tomorrow. Of course we have to work. Zhao Hao's words struck me like thunder. I'm totally exhausted tonight. Once we get back, I'm definitely going to sleep well. Hearing this, I looked at Zhao Hao in surprise. Did you just say go home to sleep? Work tomorrow? I'm utterly baffled. In the end, under Zhao Hao's constant urging, we had to leave first. Xiu, let's hurry home and get some rest. We still have to work tomorrow. Only the Bailu Academy remains. What could be the reason for this? Why is only the Bailu Academy left? Moreover, we haven't encountered any danger along the way. Could it be that the female doctor has restrictions preventing her from leaving the mental hospital? I couldn't see the Qingshan Psychiatric Hospital before because I was inside it, so I couldn't take in the whole picture like I could from the outside. Now I'm already out. We should be able to see the mental hospital, but it actually disappeared. Something feels very wrong. I clearly felt a serious sense of discord, but I just couldn't figure out what was off. Then suddenly, it hit me. The Qingshan Psychiatric Hospital had disappeared. Let's not look and keep running instead. What if something strange comes out from inside? But I didn't respond. Instead, I furrowed my brows in deep thought. This doesn't feel right. We escaped the hellhole alive. The other two colleagues were no exception. His face was filled with the joy of having survived a disaster. Zhao Hao saw me staring at the academy's direction. He quickly suggested, "Brother Shou." Then everyone ran off without any hesitation. They ran wildly into the distance. They kept running until they were out of breath. Only then did they stop. "Great job, Xiu Gu," completely frozen in place. At this moment, I'm standing in the middle of a road, surrounded by rows of residential buildings. Isn't this the tree-lined avenue leading to Bailu Academy? I just got out of the mental hospital. A glimmer of light suddenly appeared ahead. The light quickly expands right after, and I can vaguely make out a building. As the surrounding darkness recedes like a tide, I find myself staring at a familiar gate. It feels as if this road will never end. This kind of lonely darkness could drive a normal person to madness. But it doesn't affect me in the slightest, because my heart is even darker than this road. Just when I thought I'd be trapped in this darkness forever. 1 minute has passed. 5 minutes have passed. In the end, I don't even know how long I've been walking. My sense of space and time has been swallowed by the darkness. All around me is still nothing but darkness. Not to mention Zhao Hao and the others who have been following behind me. This also means that I have lost contact with Zhao Hao and the others. Is this strange darkness the nature of this place? Now the darkness has swallowed the path behind me. I can only keep choosing to move forward. I looked back. The door behind me had long disappeared. All around me was only darkness. I waved my hand, but I couldn't touch any bodies. That now I can't even hear any sounds. Everything around is dead silent. I tried to open my mouth. I could feel my vocal cords vibrating, but no sound came out. My first feeling is darkness. An unparalleled darkness. I can't even see my hands in front of me. I can't see anything here at all. What's even stranger is, even if there's danger, we have to go. With that, I stepped straight into the door. The darkness was like a gaping abyss, slowly devouring my figure. After entering the door, I spoke up and asked, "Xiu Gu, this is really the exit. There won't be any danger, right? We've faced danger all the way. Where's the safety in that? There is nothing inside. It's as if behind this door lies nothingness." After careful consideration, I decided to open the big door. Seeing this account, I stopped. I began to frantically mobilize my senses. I was probing the situation behind the door, but no matter how I perceive it, the feedback I receive is always the same, empty and void. There is not a glimmer of light. Inside, it is like a black hole. It devours all the light. I slowly extended my right hand toward the door, but just as I was about to touch it, a place that even the female doctor feared. How could there be no danger here? Soon, we arrived in front of the gate. Looking through the bars, there was nothing but darkness beyond the door. All the way, everyone was filled with fear and trepidation, but no one was in danger. Yet the more it seemed that way, the more uneasy I felt. After entering the passage, I walked slowly while holding onto the wall. Zhao Hao and the others anxiously followed closely behind me. In this quiet and empty passage, our footsteps sounded particularly crisp. Feeling that my energy had fully recovered, I suddenly opened my eyes and stood up. My sudden movement startled Zhao Hao and the others, but I didn't care at all. I coldly spat out one word, "Go." I headed towards the safe passage. They're starting to feel a bit dizzy, along with a sudden feeling of exhaustion. At this moment, I sat down and closed my eyes to rest, waiting for my spiritual energy to recover. Half an hour later, everyone has been running at full speed. On top of being terrified along the way, their energy has almost been completely drained. As office workers, they've never experienced such intense physical activity. Now that they've suddenly stopped, I'm just a bit tired after running for so long. Let's take a break before we continue. Upon hearing this, Zhao Hao agreed that it was time to rest. It's only been a few dozen minutes since the ghost fish appeared, but in these few minutes, they also echoed Zhao Hao, asking me why I wasn't leaving. I turned back to look at them. A thought crossed my mind. I then squatted down. I said, "There's no problem. Is there something wrong here?" The colleagues behind also wanted to leave quickly, but they weren't fools either. Seeing me stay still, they naturally wouldn't rush ahead blindly. That could make a doctor who's dismembered countless strange bodies so terrified that she doesn't even dare to approach. Seeing me stand still for a while, Zhao Hao, next to me, looked at me in confusion. Why aren't you moving? The lighting in the passageway was dim. It was entirely illuminated by the signs. At the end of the passageway was an iron door. The more I looked, the more serious my expression became. What exactly is hidden in here? Entering it could be fatal. Under the silver-green light emitted by the sign, the pitch-black door ahead appears especially eerie. But through the glass on the door, I could faintly see a passageway behind. I couldn't quite make up my mind for a moment. Because logically speaking, I could escape the mental hospital by going out here. But judging from the female doctor's behavior, this emergency exit is most likely a dead end. The other two colleagues saw this, and couldn't help but look at Feng Xiu. The female doctor had already run off. What should we do now? I looked at the emergency exit sign in front of me. Then her cold body slammed hard into Zhao Hao's face. Immediately after, she bypassed Zhao Hao and the others, and ran off into the distance. Zhao Hao was knocked dizzy by the female doctor. He couldn't figure out what was going on for a moment. With a concerned look, the female doctor asked me, "Are you okay? Are you alright? Why isn't this female doctor moving?" Just as the words left my mouth, the female doctor, who had just been trembling all over, turned around suspiciously and lunged directly at Zhao Hao. The female doctor's flight and warning did not bring me joy. Instead, it made me even more serious. What is hidden in there? What could possibly make the female doctor so afraid? At that moment, Zhao Hao ran over, as if she had seen something horrifying. After the scream, the female doctor slowly backed away to the entrance of the corridor. Then, trembling all over, she told me not to go in. Seeing this, I frowned slightly, but just then, a strange scene occurred. The female doctor who had just entered the left passage, suddenly let out a shrill scream after seeing the sign. The sound was filled with terror. Nor is it as easy as he imagines for me. It took me dying 9 full times to achieve this miraculous skill. At this moment, I finally saw the emergency exit sign emitting a silver-green glow. If this is truly the way out, then we can be saved. So this is a spirit master. At this moment, his heart was filled with admiration and desire. After all, who hasn't dreamed of becoming Superman? But what Zhao Hao didn't know was, this isn't something a spirit master can do. They just felt a blur of motion before their eyes. They didn't even catch sight of the female doctor's movements. Yet, I managed to dodge everything unscathed. Zhao Hao secretly swallowed. He felt a bit conflicted. Growing even more furious, she actually said a line today. "You must die here in this moment." I was taken aback. I didn't expect the female doctor to still retain a trace of consciousness. And this scene left Zhao Hao and the others stunned, rolling towards the passage ahead. In the next moment, a deep pit was smashed into the spot where I had just fallen by the female doctor. The female doctor, having missed her strike, froze in place. She couldn't accept this outcome. Then she suddenly turned her head. Seeing this, the female doctor suddenly exerted herself, like an arrow released from a bow, lunging toward me. But even though I fell, my speed didn't decrease. I directly executed a roll. My whole body lurched forward, driven by the force of the fall. Although my speed has increased a bit, my balance is quite unstable. After swaying a couple of times, I actually fell to the ground, stretching her entire body out, looking just like a human-shaped spider about to pounce. And just before she attacked, I suddenly stumbled, as if something had tripped me. He didn't even take the female doctor's attack seriously at all. At this moment, the attacking female doctor suddenly stopped. Her blood-red eyes were fixed on me afterward. The female doctor leaped down from the ceiling. I was always able to narrowly evade. Even until the end, he walked as if it were a leisurely stroll, walking through the female doctor's storm-like attacks. Seeing this, Zhao Hao was overjoyed, as expected of Brother Xiu. Thus, the female doctor became furious. Her hands transformed into afterimages as she launched continuous attacks. The fierce onslaught made it hard for anyone to breathe, but I still dodged with a calm expression, no matter how fast the female doctor attacked, as if I was about to show the lady doctor who's boss. But in the next moment, I turned around and ran without even looking back. This left the female doctor beside them a bit speechless with anticipation. Isn't this just toying with oneself? You want to kill me? Not a chance. You probably need a few more years of practice. The account next to me was stunned, thinking, wow, Xiu is really that strong. I could feel a slight smirk forming at the corner of my mouth. I slightly tilted my head and avoided this lethal strike. Seeing this, the female doctor was also taken aback. She didn't expect to miss her target. Looking at the female doctor so close, I smiled faintly. Get out of the way. The female doctor is coming for you. However, it was still too late. At this moment, the female doctor had already come up behind me. She reached out with that pale, large hand toward my head. Unexpectedly, it was as if eyes had grown on my back. At this moment, his eyes were only on me. As long as I wasn't killed by him, the others were absolutely safe. Seeing this, Zhao Hao shouted, "Xiu Gu can definitely hold up for at least 5 more minutes than the other 2 colleagues." When Wu Dehai and Wang Zitong saw the rushing female doctor, they were instantly scared and screamed. However, the female doctor simply leaped over their heads. He completely ignored them. This time, I tried a different approach. I sacrificed 2 other colleagues. I kept Wu Dehai and Wang Zitong. If there's a need to block a trap, the flesh of 2 big men like Wu Dehai and Wang Zitong. Then they wrapped around my neck in a loop. In the next moment, the familiar death replayed once again. I don't even know how many times I've experienced this loop. But this time, I was only 5 meters from the safety exit. Next time, I'll definitely make it into the safety exit. I came here. There's a restroom here. And to his left, there's a safe passage. However, before I could reach the public restroom, several black flashes suddenly appeared in front of me. In a sense, the echo of death is equivalent to foreseeing the future. And I remember there's a safe passage here. So I quickened my pace. When I was wandering around the psychiatric hospital, I slammed the door hard. I absolutely can't abandon the scalpel. I still have a chance. Even though the female doctor's speed far surpasses mine, I can use Death's echo repeatedly to predict her attack trajectory. Then I can only give up the scalpel in my hand, and let the female doctor return to her previous killing pattern. But I'm not willing to give up. The weapon I had in hand just flew away like that, with a heart full of unwillingness. The female doctor quickly caught up with me, pushed me to the ground. The familiar chewing sound echoed again the next moment. Now, for the 3rd time, I looked at the east door with a complicated expression. If this door isn't the right way out, it was complete chaos here. Various medical instruments were piled together, greatly slowing me down. The main point is, this is a dead end. That pale hand reaches out towards me. The next moment, a chilling crunching sound echoed in the elevator. Once again, it resonated through the 2nd floor. Without saying a word, I charged straight toward the south entrance. I frantically pressed the elevator close button, hoping to close the doors before the doctor arrives. But just as the elevator doors are about to close, a long, pale hand tightly grips the elevator door. Then it forcibly opens the elevator. The north leads to the elevator, and it can still be activated. But the elevator is in disrepair due to age. The startup speed is unusually slow. I watch as the female doctor charges towards me, but it was all worth it. Even if this choice is still wrong, I will still meet a tragic end at the hands of the female doctor. This time echoes. I chose the northern door. It becomes a one-hit kill. First, break their defense with the scalpel, then use the pain ability to finish them off. Although doing so will anger the female doctor, it'll break his killing pattern. But all my choices were exactly the same. I still chose Wang Zideng and Wu Dehai to carry her. After all, that scalpel that can slice through countless bizarre things. There's no way I would give it up. With it, combined with my ability to make enemies feel pain, am I going to die again? It seems the west gate is a dead end. I definitely can't choose her next time. When I woke up again, I went through the same events as before. A furious roar erupted from her. She viciously bit into my neck. Blood splattered instantly. A wave of weakness quickly swept over my body. My vision is starting to blur. The female doctor was too fast. Even with my enhanced reaction speed, I couldn't dodge in time. She immediately tackled me to the ground. The female doctor's slender wrist gripped my left hand like a steel vice. The next moment, she opened her gaping mouth. When I heard this and turned around, the female doctor had already come up behind me, saying, "Give me back the knife." Then she jumped down from the ceiling. She lunged straight at me. It would have only taken a gesture to end their lives. At this moment, Zhao Hao, realizing the danger, quickly shouted, "Brother Xiu, watch out behind you. The female doctor is looking for you." But it was still too late. The next moment, the female doctor completely ignored the people downstairs, and rushed directly toward me upstairs. The intense scene left the others collapsing to the ground. After all, the female doctor was only 2 meters away from them. At that moment, the door behind them was suddenly slammed open. The female doctor crawled in along the ceiling. The mask she had been wearing was now removed. She was muttering something to herself. "I've already awakened it. The spiritual boost is still there." Her physical abilities far exceeded the others. Meanwhile, the 2 colleagues at the back started pulling at each other, since no one wanted to become the doctor's target. However, I ignored these illusions completely. I sprinted straight upstairs. Among everyone, I was the fastest. Though my spirit is drained now, if you're too far, I may not be able to protect you. What greeted me was an upward staircase. In the dim light, the surrounding shadows seemed to come alive. They were baring their fangs and claws, welcoming my arrival, breaking her pattern of killing. so I quickened my pace toward the gate. Without any hesitation, I pushed the gate open in one go. Zhao Hao, you must stay close to me. How is this possible? Wu Dehai and Wang Zidong are two big men. How could they arrive so quickly? After thinking it over carefully, I realized the reason. It's probably because I took the scalpel from the female doctor. The ceiling was shaking non-stop, as if something were running above it. A female colleague nearby was so frightened she burst into tears. It's a female doctor, and she wants to catch up. The male colleague looked terrified and said, after I finished speaking, I led Zhao Hao toward a door. Why so much nonsense? Come if you want, it's up to you. At that moment, a faint rustling sound came from the ceiling behind them. They looked up. Feng Xiu, we are racing against time now. There's no time to try one by one. If it's a gamble, do we still need to wait for you here? We're still waiting for him. Must be the correct one. If you're lucky, the first door might just be the right one. Wen Yan, Zhao Hao, and the others were all taken aback. They didn't expect me to come up with such a method. I couldn't help but glance at him with a look of plea. I didn't pay attention to the two of them. Instead, I calmly focused on the 4 large doors in front of me. Then I spoke up, saying that staying alive was quite simple. One of these 4 doors. Why aren't you running now? Now you still want Brother Xiu to lead the way for you. How can you say that with a straight face? Wen Yan and the others smiled innocently. An awkward expression. You hurry and lead the way. We've been waiting for you for a long time. Their sudden appearance startled Zhao Hao. After reacting, Zhao Hao started to scold them. Weren't you running really fast just now? At this moment, Zhao Hao looked around and found 4 doors. He then asked me where we should go. The 2 colleagues hiding behind the pillar, upon hearing Zhao Hao's voice, immediately walked out from behind the pillar. Great! You two are all right, Feng Xiu. 2 colleagues who had run away earlier were hiding behind a large pillar in the hall. Although I couldn't see them, since I had awakened my spiritual sense, my sense of detachment has become sharper. I can easily hear their hurried breathing and anxious heartbeat. The female doctor suddenly realized her weapon was missing. She frantically started searching for it. Moments later, I pulled Zhao Hao into a large hall. It was completely empty here, very quiet. Seeing this, I clenched my teeth. It seems I can't take revenge on the female doctor for now. As the female doctor is about to finish soaking, I did not hesitate at all. I grabbed my account and turned to run. Suddenly, a thought flashed through my mind. It's because of spiritual energy. This scalpel probably needs a spirit to operate. But I am currently spiritually exhausted, so the scalpel cannot unleash its true power. It feels cool to the touch. I ignored the account with a lecherous expression. Instead, I started thinking carefully about the reason. Why was the female doctor able to cut through the strange creature? But in my hands, I couldn't even scratch her skin. Why can't it cut her? Then Zhao Hao touched Xiu. Your knife didn't even scratch the female doctor's skin. Could this knife be exclusive to the female doctor? But the female doctor's skin is so smooth. This scalpel could cut through anything strange. How could it not cut the female doctor? Seeing this, Zhao Hao quickly ran to the female doctor's side. He lifted her collar to check. Isn't Xiu's knife supposed to cut through people easily? But in the next moment, a crisp metallic clink rang out. Her neck was completely unscathed. I froze in place instantly. How is that possible? Zhao Hao, who wanted to touch a bit more, saw the scalpel in my hand, and wisely moved aside. I swung fiercely toward the female doctor's neck. A flash of cold silver light followed. Now that I have this knife, does that mean I can kill the lady doctor? The moment I thought of that, I immediately told Zhao Hao, who was obsessively touching my leg, to stop. Move over a bit, which caused the female doctor's mind to be overwhelmed by the malice within the scalpel. She became one of the subjects she had been studying in life. In that case, the real source of the horror is this scalpel. The female doctor was merely influenced by it. It turned out that the female doctor had been using this scalpel to conduct some kind of experiment on the strange beings. Over time, this knife absorbed the resentment and hatred of countless entities at their moment of death. Later, a major incident occurred at the asylum. Countless fragmented images began to appear in my mind. In the images, half-human, half-alien beings were tied to the operating table, unable to move. A female doctor was holding the scalpel, cutting into them. Seeing this, I instantly understood. An ordinary person would likely be overwhelmed and turned into a monster consumed by a thirst for blood the instant they touched it. Such violent negative emotions could nearly tear one's mind apart. Yet, these emotions did not break my spirit. Instead, they made me feel a sense of kinship. When these negative emotions flooded my mind, I directly picked up the scalpel that you dropped. The moment I acquired it, a strange aura erupted from within. It transformed into an intense surge of negative emotions that assaulted my mind. Inside, it held the grievances and hatred of countless people. Suddenly, a guess popped into my mind. If ordinary weapons cannot conduct spiritual energy, then this scalpel, which had been held by the female doctor, must not be an ordinary weapon, right? Then my weapon problem would be solved. So I didn't hesitate at all. If I'm not running, I want to touch your thigh one more time. After saying that, he walked towards the female doctor. At this moment, the scalpel by Zhao Hao's feet caught my attention. It must have fallen when I knocked down the female doctor just now. If you really want to hurt a ghost, it's best to rely on the power of weapons. But can ordinary weapons convey spiritual energy? See, my experiment is complete. Zhao Hao quietly asked me if I was still running. This little bit of spiritual energy can't fully break through the female doctor's defense. The female doctor I attacked just fell to the ground and howled for a while. Then she started eating again, just like before. Seeing this, I thought to myself, with this little spiritual energy of mine, it's impossible to break through the ghost's defense with my fists. The pain contained in that punch wasn't fully conveyed to her. And after that punch, my spirit, it's just exhausted, unable to throw a second punch. It seems the spiritual energy is still too low, but the effect of the punch was different from what I expected. Although the female doctor fell to the ground in pain, it was clear that it wasn't as painful as it had been for me back then. Also, when I hit the female doctor's face, I felt a blockage in the transmission of my spirit. Even gods won't be able to stop me. Let you be the first to feel this pain. He then threw a punch at the female doctor's face. The female doctor, who was eating, had no awareness to dodge. I took that punch head on. Who could possibly withstand such a level of pain? And as the number of deaths increases, the pain will also grow. This means my power can grow without limits. I believe that in the end, if this ability falls into someone else's hands, it would definitely be a useless ability. But in my hands, it's a divine skill. This punch contains the pain I've suffered from dozens of deaths. After Zhao Hao had retreated to a safe distance, I then walked toward the female doctor. Now, I have the strength to attack her. It won't be like last time when I couldn't even break through the defenses. I even got countered and ended up in trouble. Upon hearing this, Zhao Hao tactfully stepped aside, and said, "Brother Xiu, you're amazing. You've become a spirit master as Prince Wang Zidong mentioned so quickly. It's time, Brother Xiu." It's already been 2.5 minutes. My expression instantly regained its calm. Zhao Hao, step back a bit. I'm going to experiment with the power of spirituality. My dear wife, let my wife feel the pain I felt when he killed me. Let him feel it deeply. Is there anything more wonderful in this world? Indeed, Zhao Hao interrupted my fantasy. Make the bizarre empathize. Let them feel the pain they brought me. In my view, there's nothing more wonderful in this world. Isn't that right? To hear Zhao Hao's words at all, after coming to this world, I have been killed in strange ways too many times. Now, all this pain has transformed into power. I can repay the bizarre. Even if you were to trade me the ability to control time and space, I will definitely not exchange. Seeing me so frenzied, Zhao Hao beside me, was scared and hurriedly asked me what was wrong. However, I was too excited. They can all be made to resonate with the enemy through attack. Only then, did I fully understand what my ability truly was. In the next moment, a maniacal laughter erupted from my mouth. I am so satisfied with this ability. My attacks can make the victim feel pain. This is what I desire and need the most inside. As long as the pain comes from the negative emotions within myself, whether it's the pain the body feels at death, or the negative emotions and distortions that arise psychologically. With this question in mind, I began to awaken my intensely red spirit. In the next moment, the information that came from my spirit left me stunned. Immediately after, a sharp pain swept over my entire body. My ability is pain. That's what will be revealed. After understanding all this, I couldn't help but ask myself, what do you desire the most? Or rather, what do I need the most now? The ability to get wet in the rain is an expression of mental power. What do I care about the most inside? What do I desire the most? What do I need the most? A mind fused with eerie power can influence the real world. The stronger your mind, the more eerie power it can fuse with, and the stronger the mental power that affects reality. The mind itself possesses great power, but this power cannot affect reality. It only exists in an illusory world, and is idealistic. And the eerie power is the tool that breaks the illusion and reality, and the most real world is laid bare before my eyes. Is this spirituality? The physical changes have deepened my understanding of spirituality. Spirituality is the product of the mind's power being twisted by a mysterious force. Although my physical fitness has not increased significantly, with my current control over my body, 1 unit of effort now is stronger than 5 units of effort before. If seeing the world used to feel like looking through a veil, now the veil has been lifted, As my heart beats wildly, my body also begins to undergo a tremendous transformation. It feels as if my entire being is bathed in a crimson light. My sense of touch, smell, hearing, and taste have all become several times more sensitive than before. Even my thinking and nerve reaction speed have been enhanced. It has a soul-stirring blood-red color, a dazzling and resplendent sense of grandeur. Its appearance signifies that I have successfully awakened my spiritual power. I have become a spirit master. As more and more cold air penetrates my heart, the dust on my soul diminishes. Suddenly, all the cold air begins to gather in one place, unfolding into bright red blood-like radiance. In the next moment, a blood-red orb slowly emerges. It even turned into a form resembling me. Clearly, my guess was correct. The shape of the soul can change with one's thoughts, but the shape of the soul is not really important. What matters is lighting up the diamond, is because my subconscious. That being said, I should be able to control its shape. As my thoughts surge, this gray heart slowly turned into a blade. Is the soul the heart? But the soul is formless. It's the battleground of self-awareness. If I'm not mistaken, the reason it's a heart. It disappeared like a stone sinking into the sea. It vanished without a trace. It made me a bit curious where that chill went. Could it have gone to my heart? I closed my eyes. I carefully felt this coolness. In my perception, more and more cool energy gathered inside my body. But after it entered my body, I have echoes. I can ignore the risks, but I don't have a signal. He can't set any limits. After Li Qing's idea, holding out for 5 minutes is definitely not a problem. So I decided to push for another 2.5 minutes. I'll reserve 2.5 minutes for an escape. If the lights still haven't turned on after 2.5 minutes, then I can't continue. Seeing this, I pulled Zhao Hao to the other side. After the female doctor finished dismembering, I continued to touch him. Wu Dehai is very fat, with his amount of flesh. After listening, Zhao Hao hesitated to speak. He really wanted to ask why we had been together from the beginning to the end. So when did you experience life and death? How would I know? At this moment, the female doctor who finished eating Wang Zitan began to take action against Wu Dehai. Wen Yan, I told Zhao Hao, even though you have been in contact with the strange for a long time, you have never experienced true life and death. Your mindset hasn't reached the standard. That's why you feel nothing at all. Really, Brother Xiu, can we finally escape from here? But, Brother Xiu, can you describe what it feels like to awaken your spirituality? Why don't I feel anything at all? The female doctor will attack me. Isn't there still Wu Dehai? And I feel like I'm about to awaken my spirituality. As soon as I mention awakening my spirituality, the account instantly gets excited. The time is almost up. If we don't leave now, I'm afraid it will be too late. Hearing this, I glanced at Wu Dehai lying on the ground. Don't be afraid. Is it that my touching posture is wrong, Xiugu? Why can't I feel the coolness you mentioned? After a vigorous attempt, Zhao Hao still didn't feel anything. Helpless, he could only look at me and say, Brother Xiu, is this the infiltration of the strange power? If I'm not mistaken, this is likely a sign of spiritual awakening. At this moment, Zhao Hao beside me starts to caress. She then stated that she didn't feel anything. But when I relaxed my body and mind, I could distinctly sense that strange feeling again. There was indeed a strange chill coming from the female doctor's thigh into my palm. Then it flowed through my entire body along my palm. I suddenly felt something unusual. A chill unexpectedly penetrated my body from the female doctor's presence. I immediately called Zhao Hao over to ask if she felt anything like that. Zhao Hao was taken aback at my words. Zhao Hao suddenly realized, Xiugu, you are right. When the time comes, if lives are needed to fill the gap, we will definitely be the first to die. At that moment, with Wang Zitong and Wu Dehai's status, do you really think that when it comes to making a choice, they would favor those they have conflicts with, or those who have always been looked down upon? Hearing these words, he asked me why I suddenly attacked Wang Zitong and Wu Dehai. I told Zhao Hao, the speed of the female doctor is far beyond what humans can compare to. So, to survive, the only way is to sacrifice lives. Then Zhao Hao squatted down. With a face full of embarrassment, he reached out his hand again. Then Zhao Hao and I quietly touched for 30 seconds. Zhao Hao hesitated for a moment. In the end, he couldn't hold back. With all that blood on your face, like you'd slaughtered a pig. Wen Yan looked at him, speechless. And at that moment, Wang Zitong's head was thrown over by the female doctor. Zhao Hao was so scared that he immediately clasped his hands together. He expressed that his previous words were absolutely not intended to offend Miss Wang. You're the only one who truly treated me as a friend. So Brother Xiu, even if you turned into a ghost, I would still believe in you. I hesitated just now because you looked so terrifying. After all, this world is too dangerous. But who would have thought Zhao Hao hesitated for a moment. In the end, he still chose to trust me. Xiao has always been a marginal figure at the sales office. Only you are willing to interact with me, a complete person. If he doesn't want to, I shouldn't force him. I should safely protect her and help her leave here. Let her be an ordinary person. Or rather, my humanity is gradually fading. Although I don't reject this feeling, I also don't want to lose all emotions that make me human. But Zhao Hao is different from me. He's a person. Had I already become the ghost in their minds? But it makes sense. I, who has died so many times, have long been buried by revenge and madness. I can feel that it's becoming hard for me to have emotional fluctuations. Created a strangely beautiful effect. Still dragging the female doctor's leg. This made Zhao Hao momentarily unable to tell who the real ghost was. Watching the crowd scream and run away, I finally realized, Zhao Hao actually hesitated. It was simply because my current appearance was too frightening. The others had long been scared away by me. At this moment, my face was covered in blood. The contrast of my pale skin and the bright red blood, "I'll take you away," made me completely recognize Zhao Hao. Now that there's an opportunity, I naturally want to help him more. Zhao Hao, who was nearby, heard what I said. It was only now that I reacted from the earlier shock. Faced with my invitation, "Don't just stand there foolishly. Why not come over and touch it? Don't you want to awaken your spirit?" I have always remembered what Zhao Hao did in the storage room. That line, "Brother Xiu," intense mental stimulation combined with physical impact, makes me fantasize about the scene of my wife dying at my hands. If one day that thrill could be realized, how wonderful would that feeling be? That's when I turned to look at Zhao Hao, pressing firmly against my chest. At this moment, a maniacal grin filled my face. My expression is no longer calm, but has become ferocious and insane. Can my heart really beat this fast? This feeling is intoxicating. The next moment, this warmth flowed into my chest. My heart felt like it was fueled by the finest energy. It burst with intense vitality. I quickly crossed my hands. When Wang Zitong's hot blood splattered on my face, that warmth signified that my first act of revenge was complete. Then I stuck out my tongue to lick the liquid at the corner of my mouth. My body began to tremble involuntarily. Is this the taste of revenge? Wang Zitong let out the final roar of his life. "Fang Shou, I curse you to die a terrible death." In the next moment, the female doctor exerted a sudden force with her hands. A crisp crack echoed. Wang Zitong's life came to an end. How could I possibly leave? Words devoid of any emotion. Felt like a bucket of ice water poured over his head, instantly sobering Wang Zitong. He felt the cold, elegant hands of the female doctor holding his head. At that moment, I slowly leaned down. I looked at Wang Zitong with a blank expression. "No need to worry. I would run, I won't walk. Without seeing you die with my own eyes." He wanted to grab my pant leg and die with me. All I heard was a bang. I stepped down hard, pinning Wang Zitong's palm beneath my foot. The intense pain drove Wang Zitong completely mad. A stream of filthy words erupted from his mouth. He reached out. He found that the slick feeling was actually blood. Only then did Wang Zitong remember everything that had just happened. His eyes were filled with hatred and anger. He suddenly lunged at me. Unlike them, I didn't run at all. Instead, he walked towards the female doctor. Wang Zitong, who had just woken up from a coma, still wanted me to save him. But suddenly he felt something was off, not even caring whether what I just said was right. They ran straight into the corridor on the left. The crisp sound of their footsteps echoed loudly in the silent corridor. However, they didn't run far. Instead, they hid around the corner and started to observe secretly. At that moment, the sound of joints twisting was heard. The female doctor was attacking from the ceiling, her blood-red eyes staring intensely at them. Seeing this, the two screamed in panic. They turned and ran away. Before anyone could react, a figure leapt directly over them. Zhao Hao, with a lewd expression, said, "Brother Xiu, is there a chance to touch her thigh? You can't leave your little bro out this time. Did you think we're just backup for you?" "Let me clarify, I stayed to touch thighs. But you only have 10 seconds to run for your lives. If you don't run now, it's uncertain who's going to die." Then I closed my eyes, and stepped aside. Seeing this, a colleague immediately asked, "If that's the way to survive, why aren't you leaving? Is there danger ahead in the hallway?" Afraid that they'd be the next one. So now they're all very wary of me, but I don't care at all. Pointing at the crossroads, I said the right way leads to death. If you want to live, take the left. Because my words were too harsh, they were shaken. Only Zhao Hao's eyes gleamed as he said that Brother Xiu's actions are flawless. Although no one wants to die, my unusual way of handling things still made everyone terrified. If you ask me why I did this, perhaps it was just to be prepared for anything. After all, one more is better, isn't that right? Everyone's hearts were thrown into turmoil. No one wants to be with someone who can attack without warning. Even if that person can lead everyone to escape. Faced with everyone's questions, I remained expressionless. I was still exceptionally calm, covered his mouth to suppress a shout. Isn't this too cruel? A colleague angrily questioned why I attacked Wu Dahai. If attacking Wang Zedong was to save everyone, what explanation do you have for attacking Wu Dahai? However, his tolerance is clearly not as good as Wang Zedong's. After a few screams of agony, he actually fainted. Because of my sudden attacks for no reason, Zhao Hao instinctively, Wu Dahai, you're on the road with Wang Zedong as well. Let's settle the grudge from last week here. At this moment, Wu Dahai's posture is exactly the same as Wang Zedong's. He covers his wound and collapses, howling in pain. The screams are louder than before. I stepped out again. In an instant, the sound of the empty shell shattering echoed once more. The same face. The same screams. Only the protagonist has changed to Wu Dahai. It really is like that. Zhao Hao beside him nodded repeatedly. He exclaimed that Brother Xiu's words made a lot of sense. In the next moment, my gaze turned cold. Before everyone had reacted. So you all should thank me, because I'm saving you. As soon as those words were spoken, Wu Dahai and the others were completely stunned. Upon closer thought, but I just calmly looked at them. Your reflexes far surpass mine. So in 1 minute, someone is bound to die. But now that Wang Zedong has lost his ability to move, the only one who will die is him. Feng Xiu, what are you doing? Why did you suddenly kick young Master Wang? And using such a despicable move? Several other colleagues chimed in, criticizing my actions. His face flushed red. His veins bulged all over his body. One shrill, agonized scream after another escaped from his mouth. Young Master Wang, you should save that 5 million to fix your manhood. But Wu Dahai, the lackey, stepped forward. Feel free to speak up. The next moment, I kicked Wang Zedong hard in the groin. Young Master Wang, this matter is all yours, right? In a daze, everyone seemed to hear the sound of an egg cracking. At this moment, Wang Zedong's face twisted in agony. Before leaving, I have one very important thing to do. Looking at my obviously unusual expression, Wang Zedong stammered. As long as he can help, seeing me turn my head and show a slight smile. Prince Ting thought I had agreed to him, but I shook my head, calmly looking at him. Let's not rush this. Hearing this, Prince Ting was instantly overjoyed. You actually know the exact time the ghost will appear. It seems you have really become a spirit master. As long as you can take me away from here. Once the task is accomplished, I will immediately give you 5 million. However, faced with the crowd's eager and complicated gazes, I merely took out my phone quietly. I glanced at the time on the screen, and said to the female doctor, there's still 1 minute until she appears. Now with these two paths in front of you, I'm sure you know which one is the right way. The people behind also chimed in, stating that as long as they could be led to escape, they would surely repay you once they got out. Why aren't you running? Then everyone rushed into the door in a swarm. Prince Ting looked at me with a complex expression. Feng Xiu, have you already lit up the stars? You found the exit right away just now. I quietly opened the door. Wang Zedong was especially surprised by this. He stood there frozen in shock. Zhao Hao, standing nearby, quickly nudged him, asking why he was spacing out. Xiu has already found the exit. The conversation unfolded as it had before. Amid everyone's conversation, I had already started counting the steps, searching for the location of the main door. When Wang Zedong confidently declared that without spiritual enlightenment, we would definitely be trapped here, I stood in front of them. Seeing it was me, Prince Ting finally breathed a sigh of relief. Zhao Hao looked at everyone, surprised. Why did you all run so slowly? Slow. We went down at least 20 floors. Prince Ting was so frightened that he immediately shouted for the female doctor. Everyone, hurry and run. However, the next moment, I, as before, leapt down the stairs. Because I can't wait any longer at this moment. Right now, my mind is filled with how to repay Prince Ting. The answer to that. At this moment, Prince Ting suddenly shivered. After hearing the dense footsteps above. No wonder the ratio at Li Feifei's place is so exaggerated. Turns out it's fake. I walked toward the stairs as I did last time. I just picked up the pace. In the end, I ended up running. Hurry up and leave. Before Zhao Hao could ask anything, I informed him. It's all silicone over there at Li Feifei's. It won't last much longer. Wen Yan Zhao Hao expressed the same sentiment again. When I woke up again, a cold and glamorous touch came from my palm. Memories from before my death surged in like a tide. In the next moment, I tapped Zhao Hao, telling him to stop touching me. Even though I was already dead, I stared at him intently. There was even a mocking smile on my lips. As if to say, Wang Zedong, just you wait, I'll be right there to find you. At this moment, the fleeing Prince Ting turned to look back. Feng Xiu, no matter how capable you are, what does it matter? Didn't I still manage to trick you to death? But the scene before him made his heart nearly stop. Zhao Hao was running toward him with my head. They suddenly burst through the door, and rushed outside. Only Zhao Hao looked at my body with tears streaming down his face. Don't be afraid, brother Xiu. I'm here to help you escape. At this moment, the female doctor rushed towards me. The next moment, a familiar glow flashed by. See you next time, everyone. I will definitely repay you all well when the time comes. Seeing this, everyone in the room was overjoyed, but I didn't expect that sometimes people can be so much more interesting than ghosts. Thank you all very much for adding a bit more interest to my view of this world. Wang Zitang looked out the window at my calm smile. He suddenly felt a chill down his spine. Are you human or a ghost? Is there really any difference between humans and ghosts here? I always thought I'd never be interested in people again. Through the small window on the door, I could clearly see the expressions of every character on stage. The abuser, the accomplice, the resistor, the bystander, even the best performers, probably couldn't portray their expressions right now. What responded to him was the prince's severe coughing. At that moment, a heavy sound of a door closing drew everyone's attention. I stood quietly outside the door, watching you. A play titled, Human Nature, was unfolding inside. He immediately rushed to Zhao Hao's back. He firmly restrained him. Attacked, Zhao Hao finally released his grip on Wang Zitang. Young Master Wang, I've subdued this guy. Are you okay? Seeing this, Wu Dehai and the others didn't know what to do. In the next moment, Zhao Hao tightly gripped Wang Zitang's neck from behind. Startled, Wang Zitang quickly shouted, Wu Dehai, you better hurry up and help. Wu Dehai, receiving the signal, finally reacted. Though reluctant, for survival's sake, they still cast their votes for me. Only Zhao Hao roared, let go of brother Xiu. Then, he charged at Wang Zitang. If it weren't for your reckless choices, how could we all have ended up in such a dire situation? So you must atone for this. I voted for Feng Xiu to distract you. The others looked at each other in confusion. It's obvious that they want me to trade my life for everyone else's. In this eerie atmosphere, Wang Zitong walked toward me silently. The next moment, he forcefully shoved me, shouting loudly, Feng Xiu. Then everyone can have 3 minutes of safe escape time. Though it's a vote, everyone's gaze naturally fell on me. Hearing this, I couldn't help but smirk. Even a fool could understand what was implied. He stated that the priority is to figure out how to survive. Based on his observations, the female doctor's attacks happen every 3 minutes. In other words, we just need to vote for someone to divert her. Who knows if he will make a random choice? Isn't this betraying everyone's trust in him? Wu Dehai truly deserves to be the manager. With a moral high ground, he made the inarticulate Zhao Hao speechless. At this moment, Wang Zitong pretended to step in as a mediator. That they really weren't capable. But at least we wouldn't act on our own like he did. Does Lu even consult everyone else? Everyone trusts him. Let him choose. It was you who wanted to come along. You were the ones who asked for directions in the first place. Now you made the wrong choice, and you're blaming brother Xiu. If you're so capable, why didn't you make the choice yourselves? Wen Yan Wu Dehai shamelessly admitted. Why is it that now you're all blaming me? Human nature is truly an interesting thing. Zhao Hao looked at this group of ingrates. He immediately retorted. Xiu Gu didn't force you to come. The people inside unanimously blamed me. They accused me of choosing this path without consulting them. Upon hearing this, I couldn't help but smile slightly. Throw the blame on me. You didn't look like this back then. Currently, there are only 5 of us left, including myself. No one knows how many more lives will be lost along the way. Rather than this, I might as well just ask the female doctor directly. Just as I was about to step out the door, it turned out to be a storage room. Prince Ting couldn't believe that this was actually a dead end. How could a crowded place like a restaurant not have an escape route? Does this mean the entire hospital is completely sealed off? Yet, I'm not surprised at all. The increasingly oppressive light seems to suggest that we are moving into a more bizarre inner space. Rather than a passage to life, it is more like a gateway to hell. At the moment the door was opened, everyone was stunned by the sight before them. The fluorescent lights on the ceiling seemed ready to go out at any moment. A large door stood at the end of the corridor. The others did not notice this environment at all. They only wanted to escape from here as quickly as possible. I have been observing the surroundings. The people behind him were shouting, now we are saved. With a crisp sound of the door opening, the rusty, dilapidated door slowly creaked open. What caught the eye was a dim, narrow corridor. This corridor was even darker than the previous one. Prince Wenyuan immediately looked over. He saw that there really was a door. He immediately waved his hand and said, everyone, stay still. Let me open this door. He then walked toward the big door with a proud expression. After saying that, he turned and flattered Wang Zidong. Young Master Wang, don't worry. Even if there's no exit, I'll dig one for you as well. At that moment, someone shouted that there was a big door here. Don't rush to find food. Find the exit first. Once we're out, I'll treat you to a feast of land, sea, and air. You can eat as much as you want then. There's nothing else. However, Prince Tang looks extremely delighted and is not looking for food. There should usually be an exit connecting to the outside world in a restaurant. Everyone, let's search quickly. When Yan Wu Dahai immediately started drawing the big Zhao Hao, the cockroaches on the wall scurried to the corner, frightened by us. Everyone was thinking of finding something to eat. I ran all the way here and got scared. It took a lot out of me. But in the entire restaurant, besides the cockroach. Wait a second, Xiao, isn't this a restaurant? Wen Yan looked over in surprise. At the end of the hallway, there really was a restaurant. The spacious hall was filled with old, worn-out tables and chairs. Once I become the Yulin commander, I'll give him a hand. As for whether he succeeds or not, that'll depend on his own fate. Suddenly, Zhao Hao, who was leading the group, stopped. When I asked Zhao Hao, aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? However, Zhao Hao said that waiting for death was even more unbearable than being killed outright. Besides, isn't there still Brother Xiu's girl? Upon hearing this, I looked at Zhao Hao, who was panting heavily, and thought this kid has potential. He can still joke with me at a time like this. Maybe he can really awaken his spirit. Then we could escape this mental hospital together. After a minute of friction, Zhao Hao and I continued running ahead. He chose to join me in touching her. And he expressed the hope that next time I do it, I tell him, so I don't hog it all to myself. Looking at Zhao Hao, who had a piggish grin, I thought to myself, no wonder his name has Ri Tian in it. But when he turned around, his fragile heart was once again deeply shaken. He saw me crouching next to the female doctor who was eating, rubbing her thigh back and forth. Although Zhao Hao still trembled with fear at the sight, now, I have to try more things, and awaken my spiritual sense quickly. Then I slowly walked towards Dr. Zhao Haojian. She didn't follow. She thought something happened to me. So you can rest in peace. When I saw the female doctor had already started eating, she immediately stopped in her tracks. When a person loses their humanity, how are they different from the strange and bizarre? As a flash of silver light from a blade swept through, the man cursing at Wu Dahai fell silent immediately. Only the sound of flowing water remained. Yet Wu Dahai felt no remorse for this. He shamelessly declared that he would burn incense for you during the holidays. He grabbed the person's collar, yanked him back hard, using the force to propel himself forward a bit. The person he pulled fell to the ground directly, desperately shouting for Wu Dahai. Wu Dahai looked up. He met the female doctor's blood-red eyes, and saw the long black hair rushing straight towards him. Wu Dahai screamed that he absolutely couldn't die. In the next moment, he reached out toward the person in front of him. Instead, I showed a playful expression. Although everyone was running for their lives, how could 2 legs compare to 4? A human's speed simply couldn't match that of the female doctor. In an instant, the doctor's ghostly figure reached the ceiling above everyone. She was only 2.5 meters away from Wu Dahai, who was at the back. Her white coat stood out sharply in the dim corridor. Her blood-red eyes were fixed intently on everyone. It was as if choosing someone to feed. Yet I felt not the slightest fear. At that moment, the sound of cracking joints echoed from the corridor behind. Upon hearing this chilling sound, everyone immediately turned to look. They saw a female doctor, moving rapidly along the ceiling like a spider. 1 person can buy 3 minutes, 10 people can buy 30 minutes, and as everyone sees me moving to the right, they inevitably push me aside again, and make a mad dash for escape, stepping stones for me to become a spirit master. Then, without a word, I chose the path on the right. Right now, the female doctor is unstoppable. If we want to buy time, we'll need to come up with something. For example, sacrifice these people's lives, because the more they act like this, the more justified my next actions feel. In my eyes, you people are nothing more than tools to me. Tools to ignite my spirit, not to have you put on airs. The female doctor is about to catch up. Aren't you going to quickly tell us which way is the exit? I just gave him a calm sidelong glance. I'm not angry. They all seemed eager to push me away. Why do you think of me when you're in trouble? Seeing me, you laughed out loud. The man shouted at me, what's so funny? We're asking you because we trust you. That the wall we just ran into was the door you found. You must know the way out, right? I could only chuckle softly at this. I found it rather amusing. When we were running just now, seeing there was no way to decide, everyone couldn't help but look at me. Meeting their gazes, Wang Zidong asked, Fang Xiu, which way do you think we should go? The person next to me took this opportunity to say, no one can see clearly the situation behind these 2 paths. so someone suggested that the person next to him try going left first. Hearing this, that person immediately shouted, "Why don't you go first? Do you want to use me as your scout?" "Not a chance. That would be fun." At this moment, Wang Zidong, who was leading the way, suddenly stopped everyone. Because right before his eyes, two paths appeared, one on the left and one on the right. Both paths were dark and deep. Visibility was less than a meter. There is more than one female doctor in this mental hospital. Strangely enough, most of them are locked in the wards and can't come out. But don't forget, some of the doors to the wards are open. If a few creepy things are waiting for them up ahead, hurry up and light up the spirit. The man we blocked is cursing at us to run faster. If you want to die, don't drag him down with you. Actually, all of this is a lie of mine. The real reason is that I know, when facing the female doctor, it's not just about running fast to escape. Sometimes, running too fast isn't a good thing either. We just need to ensure that we're not the last ones. This way, I can touch her big belly a few more times while the female doctor is eating. But I grabbed him. Seeing this, he turned around and asked Shogu with confusion, "Why aren't you running? The female doctor is about to catch up." "There's no need to run so fast." I just quietly watched him disappear into the darkness. The others, seeing the exit, also ran in like crazy, afraid of being left at the back of the group, becoming the doctor's target. Zhao Hao, beside me, also wanted to rush in, his face filled with ecstasy. He shouted in delight that he found the exit. In the next moment, he burst into wild laughter. Like a madman, he rushed straight in. Seeing this, I didn't say anything. Then I carefully walked through the door. I found the corridor to be very deep and quiet. The eerie darkness sent chills down my spine. It felt as if countless sinister hands were clawing at my soul. But behind me, Prince Ting suddenly slammed into me. All I heard was a click. A steel door suddenly appeared on the wall. A cold draft flowed out from it. Once it was fully open, a dark and eerie corridor appeared before us. There's not even a door handle. At that moment, I stepped forward and felt around the door. I quickly found a protrusion. This must be the door handle, right? Then I forcefully turned it. He immediately rushed over. Feeling a different texture, his face lit up with joy. "There's an iron door here. We're saved. But how are we going to open it?" Seeing me stop, Zhao Hao hurriedly came over and touched it. Then he shouted, "You're really impressive, just like Nyobo. You were able to find a way out." As soon as Wang Zidong heard that there was a way out, but I don't answer. I silently counted the numbers in my mouth. After counting to the 15th, I immediately stopped. The solid, rough wall turned into smooth, cold steel. Because of this, Zhao Hao is also the most likely to awaken his spirit, aside from me. At this moment, I close my eyes. I start going downstairs, touching the wall on the right. Seeing this, Zhao Hao asks me what I'm doing. "Can I help?" he asks. Wang Zidong immediately shook his head, thinking the idea was too absurd. But just like choosing answers in school, the first thing you rule out is often the correct answer. Zhao Hao and I are exactly what he imagined. Zhao Hao and I stayed up there for at least a minute. Why didn't the female doctor kill us? Why did it take us so long to get here? Could it be that we were taking advantage of the female doctor? At that thought, Li Feifei must have been killed by the female doctor. The female doctor still hasn't chased us yet. She's probably eating Li Feifei right now. So Wang Zidong carefully calculated the time, starting from when they began to flee, to avoid being knocked down by those escaping. Clearly, my position was the most forward. But instead of choosing to run away immediately, he dragged Zhao Hao along to stay with Li Feifei. Now that Zhao Hao and I caught up, from start to finish, I never showed the slightest bit of panic on my face. I recall when I met the female doctor, everyone else chose to flee, yet my choice was to stand against the wall. Seeing me going downstairs, the account beside me immediately followed. "Shogu, you've come up with a way to break the deadlock." And behind me, Wang Zidong looked at my actions thoughtfully. He also noticed that I was a bit different. "Feng Xiu, what are you trying to do now?" Faced with Wang Zidong's question, I calmly replied, "Rather than meaningless prayers, it's better to focus on searching for clues. I think the layout should be the same. Since the ghostly wall is an illusion, I'll just close my eyes and feel my way forward." At this point, my strange behavior caught Wang Zidong's attention. Among these people, the one most likely to awaken the spirit is definitely me, because I am the only one who has truly experienced life and death, and I've had close contact with a ghost. Although I haven't yet recognized which building of the mental hospital this is, but looking at Prince Ting's desperate stance, I felt it should be useful. So I started to pray in the same way. I ignored the frenzied crowd, and continued down the stairs, praying with all his might, focusing intensely, hoping he had already lit up the diamond. Although he wasn't sure if being chased by a ghost counted as a life or death experience. At this point, all he could do was pray, even though no one knew how to check. He said the most important thing now is to check if we have activated our spiritual insight. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was completely confused, but Wang Zidong clasped his hands together. Scenes of myself wandering in circles filled my mind. Just then, Wang Zidong suddenly shouted, telling everyone to be quiet. He said that ordinary people can't possibly escape a ghost trap. Only by awakening one's spiritual insight can they break free. And my money, the 100 yuan I tossed. Amidst the crowd's noise, I approached the discarded items, casually picked up a piece of gum. The account behind me curiously tapped my shoulder. Why aren't you leaving, Brother Shou? Then he followed my gaze. The familiar object in front of us plunged everyone into despair. Isn't that the lighter I just threw away? The stairwell was particularly dim. It felt as though everyone was enveloped in a layer of shadow. In this oppressive and silent environment, the sound of footsteps was particularly crisp. Suddenly, I came to an abrupt stop. After marking them, I led everyone downstairs. At this moment, Prince Teng was extremely tense, fearing that the female doctor would chase after us. Everyone silently made their way down the stairs. Upon hearing this, Prince Teng instantly realized what I was about to do. He quickly signaled everyone to drop their belongings. Seeing this, the others reacted as well. They started checking if they had any extra items. After a moment, some lighters, cigarettes, bottled water, and a piece of gum were thrown on the ground. It's actually kind of interesting. Then I reached into my pocket, but found nothing inside. So I asked, does anyone have something extra on them? Throw it on the ground to mark our spot. They can never hope to escape. That's also why Feng Xiu caught up with us so quickly, because we've been going in circles. Upon hearing this, I remained unusually calm. Is this what they call being stuck in a ghost trap? None of us can escape. The power of ghosts can cause hallucinations. It could lead to the ghost wall effect. Once it happens, ordinary people will keep going in circles. Zhao Hao, don't talk nonsense now. Be careful, or I'll give you a beating. At this moment, Wang Zitong realized. His expression turned unusually fearful. This is bad. This is a ghost wall phenomenon. Daoist, how did you guys run so fast? Zhao Hao listened to this with a puzzled expression. How could you have descended 20 floors? Brother Xiu and I only went down 3 floors before we ran into you. This is impossible. I thought that female doctor was chasing us. That really scared me. Zhao Hao looked at the group, a bit surprised. Why are you all so slow? Hearing this, everyone immediately retorted, you're saying we ran slow. Do you even realize we've gone down at least 20 floors? And took off running for his life. Seeing this, I leapt off the stairs in one swift move, as gracefully and smoothly as a scene from an action movie. Wu Dehai saw it was me catching up. He immediately sighed in relief, oh, it's you guys. Then Zhao Hao and I dashed down the stairs. Who knew, after only a few flights, we ran into Wang Zidong and his group. Wang Zidong heard footsteps behind him, and thought the female doctor was catching up. He was so scared that he screamed out loud. Li Feifei is all silicone, so his flesh can't hold up for long. When Yan Zhao Hao was shocked. It turns out he's made of silicone. No wonder it's a bit excessive. But Zhao Hao had a confused look. He said, isn't there still time? I just touched it. This is my first time. If you want to die, just keep touching. The female doctor in front of me is the boss of the second level. Thinking of this, I grabbed Zhao Hao, told him to hurry and leave. I definitely won't die from ghost footsteps again. And the boss inside is my wife. If I manage to leave the room alive, I clear the level. So the save point changes to Qingshan Mental Hospital. It's the second level. And a suspicion arose in my mind. Could the echo of death be based on events as units, like levels in a game? The first level is the rental apartment. I found that I had not returned to my wife. Instead, I was next to the female doctor, touching her thigh. At this moment, Zhao Hao beside me had just touched the female doctor's thigh, and was surprised that her leg was so cold. I looked at the events on my phone. Men's gaze began to get addicted. The root cause of the man's failed plan was actually his colleague's silicone breasts. Fortunately, the man had the ability to echo death. Death is merely the opening of the next act. But when I awakened again, I never expected that Li Feifei's was fake. I actually fell for such a rookie mistake. I naively thought everything there was real. In the next moment, a gleaming blade swept by, and my last thought before dying was that I wished there were no silicone in heaven. The sight before me left me stunned. Li Feifei's corpse had been devoured completely, and in that pool of blood, 2 large pieces of silicone were unmistakably left. I stood there in shock. How could she have gotten here so fast? Did I misjudge his killing pattern? There is still at least a minute and a half left, and Li Feifei's body mass is equivalent to that of an average man. However, when I turned around, in the next moment, a lock of hair suddenly fell in front of my eyes. I looked up, and met the female doctor's blood-red eyes. I was instantly shocked. Since I dare to act like this, I naturally know what I'm doing. When I was wandering around the Qingshan Psychiatric Hospital, I noted down the general route. I was confident I could use the terrain to widen the distance between me and the female doctor. Without hesitation, I immediately turned and ran. Without the slightest hesitation, Zhao Hao is closely following behind. Xiao Gu, are you sure we can outrun him? And why do I feel like you're quite familiar with this place? Then we run immediately. Otherwise, we won't have enough time to escape. Wen Yan nodded at the account beside him. Time passed, second by second. The 30 seconds quickly passed. And now he's making jokes. This kid might have some potential. Then I took out my phone to check the time. 1 minute is up. Let's give it another 30 seconds. He's lived longer than his lifespan. Wen Yan glanced at him in surprise. Not because of his lame joke, but because of his adaptability. Just a moment ago, he was scared to death. Is your body reacting? After getting the same negative answer, Zhao Hao lamented that it was the first time in his life touching a woman's thigh, and it turned out to be a ghost's. Moreover, this ghost's legs were really long. His hand kept moving. But after all that touching, I didn't feel any change, so he couldn't help but ask me, Bro Xiao, my body doesn't seem to be reacting. Zhao Hao felt like he wasn't touching a leg, but a block of millennium-old ice. He shivered from the cold instantly. Bro, this female doctor's body is freezing. Even though that's what he said, he couldn't stop trembling. So, gritting his teeth, he closed his eyes. And with a trembling hand, he reached out as if he were about to grab a venomous snake. The moment he touched the female doctor, I saw her walking over. He immediately slid his hand back, making room for her. Zhao Hao stared at the thigh in front of him, thinking about how Li Feifei had just died tragically. Or perhaps everyone has a superhero dream deep inside. All these complex thoughts made Zhao Hao resolve firmly. Bro Su, I'll stay with you. Isn't it just a demon? He immediately walked toward the female doctor. Come over and touch with me. If you don't want to, you can leave first. I'll stay a little longer. Maybe it's because I've been through too much shock. Xiao, I really didn't expect this. You actually took advantage of even a ghost. This is a ghost, you know. It's impossible for you to. If you want to become a spirit master. Having said that, I slowly raised my right hand, and began to stroke the female doctor's leg, which bent like a spider's. Zhao Hao, who had just finished vomiting nearby, felt his worldview shatter. It was in pieces. They must let the strange power infiltrate their mind, and the place where the strange power is the strongest. Naturally, it's the strange things around me. I believe that touching the strange body can accelerate the speed of infection. When he heard the words, amount of meat, he actually vomited immediately. Seeing this, I told Zhao Hao, that earlier Wang Ziding had mentioned, if one wants to become a spirit master, Li Feifei is different from the other female colleagues. Although she looks just as slim, she's got quite the curves where it counts. Her body could hold him off for at least another 3 minutes. Zhao Hao was already in a state of panic. Zhao Hao, there's no need to be afraid. As long as he hasn't finished eating Li Feifei, we're safe. But Brother Xiao, I saw he's almost done. Was so scared he lost his mind. Brother Xiao, stop hitting. While he's still eating, let's hurry and run. But I just stood calmly in place. Is this what's strange? The attacks of ordinary humans are a joke before him, yet their attacks have an irresistible lethality against humans. It seems that only by becoming a spirit master can I change this situation. Seeing this, Zhao Hao behind me, I struck fiercely at the female doctor. Immediately, a dull collision sound rang out. In an instant, a sharp pain spread throughout my body. I raised my bloodied fist. It was too hard, that punch felt like hitting steel. I can be so composed, thanks to my dear wife. I've been in this kind of situation many times. Only this time, I'm the one being eaten. Immediately, I clenched my fists. I walked toward the female doctor. Facing such a bloody scene, I remained calm and collected, unmoved by anything, yet a trace of murderous intent ignites in my heart. Then she picked up the sliced pieces, and began to feast on them. I sighed, watching the crazed doctor devour the meal in front of me. It suddenly gave rise to a sense of sorrow. It seems that the strange pattern of killings is related to his profession in life, because during a single surgery, it's almost impossible for a doctor to operate on 2 patients at the same time. After dismembering Li Feifei, Dr. Li tucked the scalpel into her coat. In life, he must have been the chief physician at this hospital. Now, Zhao Hao and I stand right in front of him, yet he doesn't care at all. His eyes are only on Li Feifei's corpse. Could it be that he can only hunt one person at a time? Instead, she raised the scalpel and used her professional skills on Li Feifei. Her movements were as standard as a textbook. Her expression was extremely serious and focused. Seeing this, I already have my suspicions. The dismemberment technique of this ghost is precise and skillful. Feifei is dead. At that moment, a dull sound echoed. That was the sound of Feifei hitting the ground. After killing Li Feifei, the female doctor did not stop. However, what answered her was a dazzling flash of a knife. Suddenly, a fountain appeared before our eyes. Zhao Hao hurriedly raised his arm to shield against the falling liquid. She, already on edge, was completely stunned. She muttered, "He's dead." The female doctor then grabbed Li Feifei's hair, and with a sharp scalpel in hand, aimed straight for her neck. "Please, someone save me. I don't want to die yet. I am willing to pay any price," was indeed seen in the mental hospital by the female doctor. At this moment, the female doctor had already appeared above Li Feifei. But Li Feifei was still calling out to Wang Zidong, completely unaware. Not until the female doctor's hair fell and brushed against her face, did the cold, slimy sensation snap her awake. Running for his life. Unlike everyone else fleeing, I kept watching that eerie thing. Just as I had suspected before. The strange fruit of murder. However, when Wang Zidong saw the eerie sight of her moving like a spider, he backhanded Li Feifei with a slap. "Get the hell out of my way, don't hold me back." Then he pushed Zhao Hao aside. Unexpectedly, the prince, who was stationed as a guard, suddenly stopped. He turned around and saw Li Feifei, who had just been knocked down by Wu Dahai, desperately clinging to his clothes. "Please, Wang Xiao, don't leave me behind." The screams of Wang Zidong and Li Feifei were like the starting signal for a race. Everyone instantly became athletes, sprinting for their lives like crazy. This time, there's no need for anyone to lead the way. They even complained that the person in front was blocking the way. It was the sound of the other person turning their neck, and his target was the petrified Li Feifei. In the next moment, his limbs flailed wildly. He crawled towards him like a human-shaped spider. In the next moment, the two were directly startled into a daze. They saw a female doctor in a white coat, her limbs long and spider-like. With blood-red eyes, she was hanging upside down from the ceiling of the corridor. That crackling sound. A sudden crackling sound came from the ceiling behind him. A cascade of hair dropped down from above. The sound was exceptionally crisp. It was like the sound made when joints move. Prince Tang and Li Feifei slowly turned their heads to look. I quietly counted down in my mind. Then I lifted my head to look at everyone. "Time's up, everyone. He is about to arrive." Just as Li Feifei was still wondering what time it was. "You're right. We need to leave immediately." In a commanding tone, he ordered me to lead the way. However, I just silently stared at my phone. Li Feifei went pale. He burst into tears out of fear, clinging to Wang Zidong, pleading, hoping Wang Zidong would take him home immediately. Hearing this, Wang Zidong finally snapped out of his shock. "Aren't these the clothes of Lao Zhao and Wang Xiaoli?" Speaking of which, Wang Zidong's expression became increasingly grim. A terrifying thought emerged in his mind. Could it be that they have already been released by the ghost? As soon as this was said, "Have you found Wang Xiaoli and the others?" Suddenly, Li Feifei pointed to the ground in terror. "There's so much blood under their feet." Wu Dahai was so frightened that he shuddered. It was only then that he noticed the pile of clothes mixed with fresh blood in front of us. "But how did you end up in the hospital now?" I looked at them speechlessly. "Oh, it's you. I thought something strange had happened." At this moment, Wu Dahai asked me if I had any discoveries. Striking my heart, I saw a leg in leather shoes step out first, followed by a group of people escorting Wang Zidong out. They looked puzzled, obviously thinking they were still in the office. Could there be others here? Or is something strange after us? Hearing this, I couldn't stop the sweat from pouring down my forehead. "Don't speak, stay quiet." The crisp footsteps sounded like heavy hammers. Just now, I was seriously examining the remains of Wang Xiaoli and the others. At this moment, a crisp sound of footsteps came from the darkness. Zhao Hao and I immediately turned to look. "Xiao Gu, what's going on here?" This reminded me of the beautiful doctor I met in the psychiatric hospital. At that moment, a finger suddenly extended from the ceiling. I immediately felt a strong intent to kill. The next moment, the beautiful doctor suddenly fell down like a spider. The blade in my hand is aimed straight at my head. So that strange thing is somewhere eating fake medicine. However, I did not respond this time, but instead carefully observed the shredded clothes. The cuts on the clothes were very neat, clearly caused by some kind of malice. Brother Xiao has finished eating now. Is it our turn next? But I said there's no need to worry. Jiao Yang was just taken away not long ago. We are temporarily safe, with petite figures. So in terms of meat quantity, they are not as substantial as their male colleagues. Their time of disappearance represents the feeding speed of this creature. Hearing this, Zhao Hao's face turned pale. He trembled all over, looking at the astonishing amount of blood in front of us, as well as the torn security uniform and women's clothing. Zhao Hao and I instantly understood. The people who had disappeared earlier had been eaten by the creature. The female colleagues at the sales office are slender. No wonder I couldn't see the psychiatric hospital before at the company. Turns out he swallowed the company. I was inside it. Of course, I couldn't see it. Then we stepped over the blood-soaked ground and kept moving forward. I immediately let out a cold laugh. The mental hospital has indeed arrived. Now he has overlapped with the real world. Just like those living anomalies. He's physical. Wen Yan looked at me in surprise. Zhao Hao, you can see the hospital too. After receiving a confirming answer, I reached out my palm to touch the wall in front of me, feeling the cold, rough texture of the wall. Not far away, there was a gurney soaked in blood. Zhao Hao clung to me in fear. Hugh, am I hallucinating? This place looks just like a hospital from a horror movie. Shouldn't we be at the company? Don't leave me behind. When I fully stepped into the light, the sight in front of me left me stunned. I found myself in a rundown and eerie corridor. The ceiling and walls were covered with grime and bloodstains. In this terrifying atmosphere, it looked particularly eerie. How could this light be exactly like the one in Qingshan Psychiatric Hospital? An incredible guess took shape in my mind. Without hesitation, I quickly walked towards the light. Zhao Hao behind me was so scared that he hurriedly shouted for Brother Xiu. Why haven't we reached the stairs? But I didn't answer. I just let him. Keep quiet. At the end of the corridor, a flicker of anxious light suddenly appeared. We've been walking for a long time. Yet we still haven't reached the end of this corridor. Seeing this, the account said in panic, Xiu Gu, this doesn't feel right. We've been walking for so long. Prince Teng was so terrified by my words that he stopped breathing for a moment. He didn't dare speak again. Honey, I'll be home soon. We were holding flashlights, walking through the dark corridor, staring at him intently. That pale, expressionless face, like a pale corpse. If you dare say one more word, I'll kill you before anything strange happens. If I violate the strange taboo, it will only bring our death time forward. You are just an ordinary person. How dare you conclude that the patterns you deduce are true? I turned around indifferently, and continued walking into the darkness. Now there are still 8 of us. Based on my deductions, in about 20 minutes, we will all die here. Did I let you go? Do you know that if you violate some strange taboo, we all might end up buried with you? But I turned a deaf ear. Of course, I said, we should look for a way out. Are we supposed to just sit here and wait to die? Wait for the strange ones to kill us one by one? Suddenly, the prince behind us roared, Fang Xiu, stop right there. My good friend Zhao Hao saw this, and immediately shouted, Xiu Gu, where are you going? You don't want to live. I glanced at him, that is to say, in 3 minutes, one of us will disappear. Without waiting for everyone to react, I walked alone into the darkness. Wang Xiaoli vanished. Then, 2 minutes later, Jia Liang was gone. If my deduction is correct, this eerie killing pattern takes a life every 2 to 3 minutes. To be precise, it was a woman for 3 minutes. The man has 2 minutes. The first to disappear was the security guard, Uncle Zhao. 3 minutes after he disappeared, I damn well want to know what we should do next. At that moment, a calm voice suddenly covered the entire scene. The interval of time is 2 to 3 minutes. The disappearance interval is 2 to 3 minutes. Are you trying to attract something strange? Li Feifei beside him was tearfully clutching him. Young Master Wang, I don't want to disappear. What should we do now? The already agitated Prince Teng shouted angrily. Instantly, everyone fell into extreme panic. Jia Liang has disappeared. He was just here talking to me. The screams from the crowd made the prince furious. Shut up. I want to become a spirit master. I want to kill that bitch with my own hands. Suddenly, a streak of light flashed by. I looked into the distance in shock. Another person has disappeared. I can use his power to become a spirit master. Although I'm currently in danger, I still feel a rare sense of pleasure at this moment. I can take my revenge. I can get revenge on that damn bitch. It doesn't count as contact at all. And now I have entered their world. They no longer need to respond. The once illusory him has now become a reality. But that's fine. The mind tainted by strange forces dissipates as well. So, I never truly came into contact with the strange power. After this echo, I never responded to my wife or the strangeness in the asylum. So those were just illusions from another dimension. But I've clearly met both of these requirements. So why haven't I become a spirit master yet? At this moment, I suddenly thought of a possibility. Could it be that the cause of the echoing death is because of the echo itself? If the soul is like a dusty luminous pearl, then in the process of wiping it clean, the pearl gradually turns crimson. Much like my eyes now. It seems that a spirit master's power comes from the fusion of one's own soul and strange forces. One's soul must be eroded by their power, but there is one point to pay special attention to. Strange powers are like a bloodied rag, although it can wipe away the dust on the soul, but inevitably, it also taints the soul. You must rely on uncanny powers, and it must meet two conditions simultaneously. First, one must undergo the terrifying ordeal between life and death. This stimulates a disturbance in the soul. Second, one must have direct contact with ghosts. Seeming quite shocked, he thought it was remarkable how I could maintain such sharp observation in this situation. He figured escaping from here might depend on this person. So, he began explaining to me, to become a spirit master. Hearing this, my eyes lit up. Is this the way to kill my wife? If what you're saying is true, spirit masters are trained in the prison of the uncanny. Wang Zidong nodded in surprise. So what exactly is your identity? Then he explained to me what a spirit master is. A spirit master is someone who can control their own spiritual essence. Currently, the best way to break the deadlock is for someone to become a spirit master. I shook my head. I asked back, what is a spirit master? Upon hearing this, the confusion in Prince Teng's eyes deepened. Not afraid of the strange occurrence, but also not knowing what a spirit master is, but just an ant. Everyone started speculating whether I had been possessed by the anomaly. Prince Teng looked at me with a puzzled expression. Feng Xiaoning didn't seem scared at all by the strange occurrence. Are you a spirit master? But I told him that I couldn't see anything in the dark because my view was blocked. I only saw it disappear in an instant, because I appeared too calm, as if what had disappeared wasn't a person. The crowd erupted into chaos. Could there really be a ghost here? Are we really going to die here? At that moment, Wang Zidong suddenly turned to look at me. Feng Xiao, you must have seen what the anomaly looks like just now. You're talking nonsense. Wang Xiaoli is clearly standing next to me, but when he turned his head to look, Wang Xiaoli, who had just been talking to him, had disappeared without a sound. He immediately shouted in terror for Wang Xiaoli, hoping it was just a joke, and I just watched calmly. The exquisite face paired with an expressionless demeanor gave off an impression of a living doll. You can look for Wang Xiaoli. These words startled a female employee so much that she shivered. However, behind them, Wang Xiaoli had already been captured by it. At this moment, he was tightly bound by tentacles. I couldn't move at all. I couldn't make a sound. I immediately warned everyone. The eerie presence is here. When they heard that, they angrily scolded me for talking nonsense, claiming that there's no such thing as the eerie. As everyone was lost in the fear from Wang Zidong's words, I seemed to hear something different. That familiar feeling sent chills down my spine. Sweat started pouring from my forehead. The eeriness here is about to strike. What should we do now? Can we escape from here alive? The only way to escape here is to figure out the strange killing pattern. Then try your best to avoid it. That way, we might have a sliver of hope. At this moment, everyone suddenly realized that the security guard still hadn't returned. Could it be that Jean has really encountered something strange? Wang Zitong remarked that ordinary people bumping into the strange is no different from seeking death. Seeing this, Wu Duhai, terrified, grabbed Wang Zitong and said, you can think of it as a different dimensional space. This is the world of the bizarre. Once humans enter, it's a life or death situation. What we need to do now is not to disturb the bizarre here. Sneak out of here quietly. Then Wang Zidong took a deep breath. What I'm about to say may seem a bit unbelievable, but I assure you it's all true. Our world really contains the bizarre, and the bizarre is just that, bizarre. Listen carefully to what I have to say next. This concerns whether we can walk out of here alive. These words hit like a heavy blow, striking everyone in the heart. It left them all numb. If you want to die right now, then speak louder. You'll attract those things over here, those who want to live. Shut up from now on. I was suddenly drenched in cold sweat. How could there really be ghosts in this world? Those are just some folk legends. However, they didn't notice that Prince Ting's expression was becoming increasingly grim. Shut up, all of you. But now, it's as if the light is being suppressed by the darkness, barely reaching even 0.1 meters in front of us. I turned to Wang Zidong. What did you mean by ghost desire just now? When the others heard the words ghost desire, they thought it was dust. But even after wiping for a while, it stayed the same. I was drawn to this scene. You know, with so many phone lights on. In theory, the light should illuminate the entire office. Suddenly, a female employee's phone fell to the ground. After picking it up, she was surprised to find that the flashlight on the phone had dimmed. You have to know, she spent a lot of money on this pineapple phone. It shouldn't have such a flaw. At this point, people around her also noticed that their phone flashlights had dimmed. The security guard says he can check it himself. No need for the man to go. In another office, A few employees are discussing how much longer it will be until power is restored. Don't delay your own clocking out. Hearing this, Woo Da-hai told them to keep quiet. Hurry and send someone to the motor room to see if the circuit breaker has tripped. Downstairs, the security guard hears a scream and runs frantically. He runs into the man whom Woo Da-hai called to check the circuit breaker. After understanding the situation, if I'm not mistaken, we might have entered another place, called the strange domain. At this moment, the others in the company are moaning in agony over their unsaved reports. Looks like we'll be working late again tonight. As if he knew something. I could see the sweat pouring down his forehead. Everyone, the world I can access is much broader than yours. There is no light now. There is no signal. With the light of the flashlight, I stepped out of the room. The Qingshan mental hospital, which had always overlapped with reality, had vanished. Wang Zitong and the others followed me downstairs. At this moment, he looked very anxious. The chairman's son, Wang Zitong, immediately called Woo Da-hai to ask if the circuit had tripped. At that moment, I opened my phone. I watched the full signal slowly drop to 0. I quickly told Woo Da-hai not to ask, because something strange had already found us. Where are you going? Just at that moment, the bright light bulb suddenly emitted a sharp sound. Then it went out. Immediately, the entire room was plunged into darkness. I have come as requested. Dean Zhou Qingfeng. I sincerely hope you can surprise me. Zhao Hao, standing beside me, looked at me, confused. Feng Xiu, what's going on? And accept the gift of fate. Reading this, a slight smile appeared on my face. Interesting, so very interesting. This mental hospital truly hides the truth. Since you extended the invitation to me, there, you'll find everything you want to know. Go and seek. When you find the truth, it's also the moment you face a choice. Follow your heart. You've come this far. You must be filled with questions. Don't worry, my friend. I've left everything in room 520 of Building C at the Qingshan Psychiatric Hospital. With just one glance, my heart was shaken to the core. It was clearly written, the one favored by destiny. Do you want to know the truth about this world? Do you want to know what the strange really is? Don't block me, annoying guy. Li Feifei, who had never been treated like this before, was about to teach Wang Zidong a lesson. However, I completely ignored him. My gaze was fixed on the parchment on the table. Then I grabbed Li Feifei's wrist. This action made Li Feifei scream in fear, thinking I was going to do something inappropriate. But the next moment, I pushed him off the table. I saw the chairman's son, Wang Zitong, and Xiao Guan Li Feifei from the company, looking panicked as they got dressed. Wang Zitong was cursing Woo Da-hai for not being able to keep an eye on the door. Seeing me walk toward him, he cursed even louder, telling me to get out. But I didn't even glance at him. I searched along the corridor. Finally, I found the dean's office in the corner. The moment I opened the door, Woo Da-hai, who had followed me, let out a wail. It's over, it's all over. I pushed him aside and walked up to the 3rd floor. Furious, Woo Da-hai immediately tried to grab Zhao Hao to stop me. However, Zhao Hao stood there in a daze. Xiu Gu, what's wrong with you? I went to the 3rd floor. Woo Da-hai is about to lose it. Woo Da-hai shouted angrily from the side. Feng Xiu, do you still dare to come to work? You have already been fired by me. Before Woo Da-hai could finish speaking, there must be more elsewhere. Like the core, the director's office of this psychiatric hospital. When I got to the 2nd floor, a voice suddenly came from the side of the room. Hugh, why are you so late? At that moment, she lowered her head and invited me. She wanted to explore the true meaning of life with me. However, I didn't even glance at her. All I could think about was the medical record from earlier, since there were clues in the office. Suddenly, countless strands of black hair appeared in front of me. I fell silent at once, pretending as if nothing had happened. I stood up. I saw a beautiful female doctor in a white coat on the ceiling, staring straight at me. The truth is within reach, yet I remain unaware. This fills me with rage, because all of this is an illusion, and I can't even examine it myself. It boldly states that experiment subject 128 has transformed bizarrely. The words before me gave me a huge shock. Could all these strange things be transformed by people? Those strange occurrences in the wards were once all people. The eerie horror inside has long escaped. Now I can face the strange, face-to-face encounters with calmness. This is all thanks to my dear wife. At this moment, the case report on the ground caught my attention. Along the corridor, I walked all the way to the end. I roughly counted. There were dozens of similar wards. Some ward doors are wide open. Each room held something strange. Most of them are bloodthirsty and violent. Their first reaction when they see a living person is to attack wildly. But I treat them like they're air, letting them attack. The next moment, the girl stared at me with her dark, hollow eyes. But I acted like she didn't exist. I walked right through her. It seemed like every room in this ward had something eerie. What I saw next confirmed my suspicion. As if I didn't see her at all, but my peripheral vision quietly observed her. At that moment, the girl in the bed slowly sat up. A dry, hoarse sound emerged. That hoarse sound was like the snapping of frayed strings on an old instrument. Then I reached out my hand, and went straight through the ward door. As soon as I entered, I saw a girl lying on the hospital bed. I stared straight ahead. Looking up, I saw the number 104 written on the ward. Everything around was in shades of gray and white. Only here were the colors so vivid. Could there be a secret inside? The pitch-black door was covered in dark red blood. From a distance, it looked like the gaping maw of a demon. Creepy. At this moment, a special ward caught my attention. The dark red door seemed to be soaked in blood. I'm afraid I need to meet certain conditions to make contact. Thinking of this, I walked straight through the wall. I began to look around this mental hospital. At that moment, a ward caught my eye. The eerie Qingshan Mental Hospital returned. I trembled and reached out. To my surprise, my hand passed right through the walls of the hospital. It was as if the two buildings overlapped. I can see it, but I can't touch it. What's going on? Was the mental hospital just now an illusion? I subconsciously blinked. When I opened my eyes again, the scene before me turned bloody again. Suddenly, a woman appeared in front of me. She was scolding me loudly, calling me a pervert. I looked up in confusion. The eerie mental hospital had turned into Bailu Academy. Yet it felt like I bumped into something. It turned out to be an invisible wall. Could it be that this mental hospital is off limits? But why is this wall so soft? The feeling in my hand was as if I was about to be slapped hard in the next moment. But how did this place turn into a mental hospital? Well, this works too. Let me see how interesting this bizarre situation is. However, as I just stepped onto the stairs, there was clearly nothing in front of me. Come up quickly. Why are you so late today? I was taken aback for a moment. At that moment, I realized, this road leads to the workplace. I hopped on my bike to explore. Before I knew it, I had arrived at a strange mental hospital. Just as I got out of the car to check, my phone suddenly rang. Xiao, what are you doing standing downstairs? It's just like my wife. But why are they doing this? Suddenly, a thought crossed my mind. They are integrating into human life. They want humans to perceive their existence, in order to discover more truths. From my observation, it seems that the people here cannot see the strange things. The ever-present strangeness plays various roles. Calling out to them, I am looking forward to their response. Only a deathly stillness remained. My wife beside me is still calling me to come and have breakfast. After a moment, I repeated my previous actions. I returned to the place I was before. Once again, I saw that innocent and lovely little girl. So many that I won't worry at all in the future about not being foolish enough. The next moment, I was smashed into a pool of blood. Then I woke up in bed again. The madness from before had faded. I love how you are right now. The little girl raised a bone club, and swung it down at me with force. I know why I laughed. It's because there are so many of you. It's now become a 3-meter tall mass of flesh. Grotesque. I was stunned for a moment. But the next second, I burst into wild laughter. You look so amusing. But the next moment, the girl's face turned blood red and hideous. Can you see me? Uncle, can you see me? Just now, the innocent and lovely girl. Turns out, it was just a child. I immediately reached out and patted her head. Little sister. Uncle is fine. It's too late. You should go home. Hearing this, I was startled. Sweat kept pouring down. When I turned around, I saw a little girl eating a lollipop. Seeing this, I secretly sighed in relief. The twisted laughter still slipped through my fingers uncontrollably. The intense urge to laugh made me gag. At that moment, a figure appeared in front of me. Uncle, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? Making me shudder. I really love this world so much. It's so interesting. Really, it's so interesting. Even when I tried to cover my mouth, a solemn half-Buddha head, already in a state of mental delirium, I began to lose control. I burst into laughter. Though the laughter was so twisted and suppressed, it sent chills down my spine. This apocalyptic scene left me dumbfounded. Looking around, the entire world was filled with all kinds of hideous and terrifying anomalies. A figure, completely shrouded in black. A human-shaped rabbit head dressed in wedding robes. A beam of bright sunlight seeped through the crack of the door. I opened the door and stepped into the warm world of sunlight. But the sight before me made me shiver all over. A blood-red sky. Countless horrors. But there was no joy in my heart. At this moment, one thing occupied my mind. How should I kill that bitch? I slowly walked toward the old staircase. A rust-covered apartment door appeared before me. My wife's beautiful eyes appeared on the doorknob. Honey, don't go. I am home alone. Afraid, what responded to her was the heavy sound of a door slamming. I finally stepped out of the room, staring at me intently. In this strange atmosphere, I calmly finished my breakfast. After I finished, I went straight to the door. The moment I grasped the doorknob, "Why do you need to make another one? Are you talking about me?" I just sat down at the table, and picked up the breakfast that was made. My wife suddenly appeared on the table. She can't make a move on me. Then I went to the kitchen, and started making breakfast on my own. My wife next to me was very angry. "Breakfast is already ready." I acted as if I didn't see her and walked right into her. The next moment, I passed straight through her body. After dying several times, I've realized that, as long as she doesn't confirm I can see her. Seeing this, my wife stepped directly in front of me. "Why aren't you talking? Are you feeling unwell? Honey, do you need me to give you a massage to help you relax?" Looking at my beautiful wife right in front of me, I just want to kill that bitch. At that moment, the familiar voice came again. "Honey, time for breakfast." This time, I acted as if I didn't hear it. With a blank stare, I got out of bed, like a pool of still water. But beneath that silence, lies a madness suppressed to the extreme. That madness ignited a flame called hatred. Now, how should I live on? How can I escape from here? How should I kill this wretch? On my 30th resurrection, my eyes are filled with dead silence. And so, I died over a dozen times. Some people seem to be alive, but in fact, they are already dead. In the cycle of death, I went crazy. My mental state shifted from rational clarity to madness and confusion. But that was nothing more than my delusion. What awaited me was still death. Since I couldn't escape, I might as well face it calmly. I have a beautiful wife. I'll still be scared by my wife's sudden face close move. Once again, he died due to bad acting. And then I broke down. I screamed, wanting to escape, praying for some god to come and kill him. My agonizing scream instantly echoed through the room. It seems this time, I'll die in a miserable way. This time, being eaten bite by bite. So, what will the ending be next time? In my next rebirth. So I let out a roar, and swung my fist at her, but she easily dodged it. Before I could even react, she bit down on my arm. I looked back. The woman was glaring at me with a menacing face. She could see me. Then she opened her bloody mouth and lunged at me. The will to survive overcame my fear. The girl in the video had turned into a woman. She gently asked me, "Do I look good?" In utter shock, I threw my phone away. When I came to my senses, I immediately thought, this isn't good. Fortunately, the woman just said that, and didn't take any action. Seeing this, I let out a small sigh of relief. But when I scrolled to the next video, my entire body froze in shock. Also, I remember you're not nearsighted. Why are you holding your phone so close? At that moment, I broke into a cold sweat. If you act strangely, you might get caught. I'll just focus on my phone. Will this help avoid a deadlock? At that moment, a familiar voice called from behind, "Honey, why are you staring at your phone? Am I not more attractive than a phone?" Just now, I deliberately avoided looking at him. He took the initiative to come over and let me see. Doesn't that mean he has to confirm I can see him before he can take action against me, from now on? But in order to survive, I forced myself to stay calm, to think of a strategy. Now, I'm like an echo in a game. Each time I die, I return to the starting point. I stayed silent the whole time, but my body's reaction still gave me away. The next moment, death came upon me again. When I woke up again, the repeated deaths had left me in unbearable pain. My heart is racing. Is she really playing by no rules? She actually unleashed her ultimate move right away. Then the woman extended her long tongue, licking my face. "You can see me." I can't answer him. I definitely can't answer him. But the next moment, the woman's head suddenly twisted 180 degrees. I was so terrified, I didn't even dare to breathe. As long as I pretend I don't see him, everything will be fine. However, the woman came right in front of me. With a kind face, he asked me if I wasn't feeling well. "Why aren't you speaking?" Seeing this, I gripped the bedsheet tightly. The woman appeared again. "Honey, it's time to get up for breakfast." But I pretended I didn't hear. Yet my body started to tremble involuntarily. I comforted myself in my heart that he was never killed by a woman. So I want to survive. I have to be like the original host, completely ignoring the existence of women. At this moment, the door beside me suddenly opened. But there's no memory of them in his mind. The original host in my memory lived like an ordinary person, leading a normal life. I have never seen or heard the presence of women. Could it be because of this normalcy? But this is too strange, isn't it? I, who was clearly dead, am now somehow revived. And the original owner isn't blind. There's no way he wouldn't see these. How am I alive again? At this moment, the bloody words on the ceiling appeared once again before my eyes. Never let them know you can see them. It turns out the blood characters really exist. They are reminding me to pretend I can't see them. The woman from the painting had a crazed look, opening her gaping bloody mouth. In the next moment, my head disappeared. When the blood-red scene before my eyes faded, I shot up from the bed in terror. Didn't I just get eaten? You can see me. You really can see me. Looking at the woman in front of me, who resembled a vengeful spirit, I was so frightened that I blurted out, "Of course I can see you. Why is she in my room?" So I opened my mouth to ask her, "Who are you, and why are you in my house?" The woman looked stunned at first. Then, she smiled happily. No mention of her name. No memories of a relationship. No images of living together. She simply doesn't exist in the original owner's memory. So who is this woman calling me her husband? I had no choice but to fake a couple of light coughs, and then started searching through the original owner's memories, trying to find the woman's name. But after I searched through all the original owner's memories, I couldn't find any trace of a woman. Did I get married so early in this parallel world? Looking at the beautiful woman in front of me, concerned about me, I secretly swallowed a gulp of saliva. Am I really this lucky in this world? Since I didn't know the woman's name, a voluptuous woman appeared at the door. "Honey, it's time for breakfast." That one word, honey, gave me quite a shock. Honey? What? But even if I crossed into a parallel world, what's up with the bloodstains on the ceiling disappearing? The original owner's memories. There were none of these weird images at all. While I was quietly thinking, was I abducted by aliens? Suddenly, a wave of unfamiliar memories flooded into my mind. The fragmented feeling created by the intertwining memories tormented me greatly. It was then I understood. I had crossed over into the body of Feng Xiu in a parallel world, but the bloodstains just now were too real. This makes it hard for me to conclude that it was an illusion. At that moment, I suddenly realized my bedroom had changed completely. I immediately stood up and looked around. This isn't my home. The bloodstains on the ceiling started to disappear. I immediately rubbed my eyes. Where did it disappear to? Could it be that I got up too suddenly? Did my brain get overexcited and create an illusion? That you can see them. The walls covered in bloodstains filled me with terror. What's going on? Why has my ceiling turned into this? As I was in shock, I was startled awake by the alarm clock. When I groggily opened my eyes, I was instantly drenched in sweat from fear. The ceiling was covered in bloodstains. Don't let them know. Am I going to die again? Am I going to be eaten bite by bite this time? What about next time? What kind of death will await me next time? Just now, can you see me? The desire to survive drives me to throw a punch at her. However, she easily dodges it. She even bites my arm. Despairing, I lean against the wall. I was so scared that I immediately dropped my phone. When I came to my senses, I was terrified, because I had exposed the fact that I could see her. Looking back, my wife is staring at me with a terrifying expression. Man fucks beautiful anchor in front of wife. To his surprise, his wife not only doesn't get angry, but also asks him who is prettier, her or the streamer. In the next moment, she even directly dives into the phone. She looks at him gently like water.